Chapter 47-29. Memorize. Qin Shen hugged him. We all like Qin Xian very much. No matter what Ai Jia did, the child is innocent. Besides, he is Qin Lu's child. If possible, I will let him live. I will try my best to save Qin Mo. Qin Mo felt a lump in his throat. After a long time, he said, "Okay." He walked out to a room next door and pushed the door open. Qin Xian was accompanied by a nurse, but he looked a little nervous. Ai Jia had been raising him abroad. Although he had the best care, Qin Xian was already 10 years old. Other than the aunties and doctors and nurses, he had never come into contact with anyone else. He had never even gone to school. He was very shy. After Qin Mo walked over, Qin Xian looked at him with admiration. Probably because Qin Mo looked like him, Qin Xian had an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Not only was he not afraid of Qin Mo, but he also wanted to get close to him. Qin Mo reached out and held Qin Xian's hand. Qin Xian was 10 years old, but he was not as tall as Yi Huan. He was thin and weak. When Qin Mo held his hand, Qin Xian's little face had a touch of longing. He had never seen his father before. He had only seen his father's photo, and he looked very much like Uncle Qin Mo. He had always been abroad, but he was a yellow-skinned, black-haired child. He had read in a book that the place where he should live was not there. He longed to go back to his own kind because the aunties, doctors, and nurses around him all had white skin and yellow hair. They all spoke English. Qin Xian didn't want to stay there, but he didn't dare to tell his mother because every time she came, she would be in a bad mood. She would only stay for a few days. He was afraid that if he made his mother unhappy, she would not come again. For a long time, Qin Xian was a child without a sense of security. Now that Qin Mo took him to the car, she asked uneasily, "Are we going back to Mom's place?" In fact, he didn't like his mother very much, but his mother was his only family member. Although Uncle Qin Mo and the others were also family members, after all, they were different. Qin Mo personally drove the car, his hands on the steering wheel. After a moment of silence, he smiled. "We're going to pick up my sister from school." Enchanting didn't have to take care of Yi Huan alone, so he took the car alone, so it would be a little late. This was the time to pick up Yi Huan. Qin Xian exclaimed, "Sister?" Qin Mo started the car and said, "That's right, little sister. I have a child with your aunt. I also have an older brother called Enchanting. We live together, so we can play together in the future." When Qin Xian heard this, he fell silent for a long time. Qin Mo thought that a child of his age would prefer adults to pay more attention to him. But when he looked at the rearview mirror, he saw an indescribable yearning in Qin Xian's expression. Qin Mo smiled. "You're very happy, aren't you?" Qin Xian leaned against the back seat. Because he was sick, his skin was very fair, almost translucent. He was also a very good-looking boy, but compared to Qin Mo when he was young, he was a lot more fragile and delicate. When he heard Qin Mo ask him, he replied softly, "Yes, I'm very happy." Qin Mo smiled and continued driving. He threw a phone to Qin Xian. "Use your phone. There are pictures of my sister in it." Qin Xian acknowledged and took the phone to have a look. There were many pictures of Qin Yi Huan in the photo album. She was very pretty and cute. Qin Xian just stared at it, not coming back to his senses for a long time. He looked at Yi Huan, feeling a little envious. She looked so happy. Would she be happy if she was accompanied? Chapter 47-30. Qin Mo probably sensed his emotions and smiled gently. "You can go to school with Yi Huan in the future." He knew that Qin Xian had never been to school, but he didn't know that Qin Xian had long surpassed ordinary children in reading books. It was simply a waste for him to go to kindergarten. Qin Mo's car was parked in front of a high-end kindergarten. There was still half an hour before Yi Huan left school. Qin Mo took back his phone and called Yi Huan. Qin Mo's voice was slightly hoarse. He Huan, I'll go home after picking up Yi Huan. You get off work so early? He Huan was a little surprised. Qin Mo he nodded and then said in a low voice, there's another kid coming. Do you remember Qin Lu? Qin Lu's son. After all, He Huan had never met Qin Lu before and had only heard of his name. Thus, it took him a long time to remember. Oh, Qin Lu is back? Qin Mo didn't say anything. After a moment of silence, he said in a low voice, let's talk at home. He Huan nodded again, looking quite obedient. Qin Mo felt a wave of softness in his heart. There was also an indescribable feeling. The bitterness and pain in his heart seemed to have been mostly healed. His voice was a little hoarse and gentle. I'll be back in a while. He Huan nodded. Qin Mo hung up the phone and suddenly came back to his senses. Qin Xian had actually climbed from the back seat to his side. Qin Mo put the phone on the control panel and asked with a smile, what's wrong? Qin Xian was a little nervous sitting beside him, but he still mustered up the courage to ask, Uncle Qin Mo, is my father called Qin Lu? Qin Mo thought for a moment and nodded. Then, he reached out and gently touched the little guy's forehead. He is a hero, a very amazing person. Our Qin Xian will also become such a person when he grows up. Qin Xian looked straight at Qin Mo. Qin Mo smiled. What's wrong? Little Qin Xian pursed his lips tightly. After a long time, he whispered, I heard that I won't live long. Uncle, you may not be able to wait until I grow up. After he finished speaking, he pursed his lips in a dejected manner and did not say anything else. Qin Mo reached out and patted his little head, smiling, with Uncle here, you will be fine. Qin Xian's gaze fell on his face, as if trying to determine if his words were true or false. Qin Mo smiled again. Your Aunt Shen is the best surgeon in the world. Qin Xian stared at Qin Mo for a long time before he squeezed out a sentence, isn't it Uncle Qin Chen? Qin Mo couldn't help but laugh. She's a girl. Qin Xian took a deep breath. But she's more handsome than Uncle. Qin Mo touched his nose. Really? This wasn't the first time someone had said that they were really speechless when they lost to their younger sister. Last year, when they were voting for the top 10 golden bachelors in B City, the young women ignored the fact that Qin Chen was a woman and even more so, ignored the fact that she was married, and forcibly sent Qin Chen to the top spot. Now, even his little guy said that Qin Chen was more handsome. Qin Mo felt that the ranking was very credible. He reached out and touched Qin Xian's little head. You will also be very handsome in the future. There are no men in our Qin family who are bad. Qin Xian was a little unfamiliar with the word man. He had always known that he was sick, and under the emphasis of the nurse, he knew that he would not live long. He had never hoped that he could live long and grow up to be a man. This was the first time he heard someone say that. Chapter 47:31. He reached out and touched Qin Xian's little head. You will also be very handsome in the future. There are no men in our Qin family who are bad. Qin Xian was a little unfamiliar with the word man. He had always known that he was sick, and under the emphasis of the nurse, he knew that he would not live long. He had never hoped that he could live long and grow up to be a man. Qin Xian was stunned for a long time. Qin Mo talked with him for a long time, and Qin Xian gradually became less nervous. There was even a trace of a smile on his delicate little face. After about half an hour, Qin Yihuan skipped out of the kindergarten. She walked in front of all the other children. Her hair had already grown to her ears, and her little face had been raised by Shinting until it was round. Qin Mo opened the door and got out of the car. He did not expect Qin Xian to get out of the car as well. They watched Qin Yihuan run over. When Yihuan saw Qin Mo, she was so happy that she rushed over and called him daddy. Qin Mo picked her up. They had not been together for many days, so he kissed her. Yi Huan was very happy to be hugged by her father. She looked at her little brother while being kissed. In Yi Huan's eyes, Qin Xian was so beautiful that he was transparent, as if he was made of glass. She looked at him curiously. Qin Mo smiled and put her down. He just held her little hand. This is Qin Xian. He is 3 years older than you. Call him brother. Yi Huan looked at her father, and then looked at Qin Xian. At first, she refused to call him, but then she asked like an adult, Daddy, who gave birth to him? The little girl was smart enough to find that Qin Xian looked very much like her father, even more so than her. She was her mother's only baby, so this brother was not the product of her parents' love, but the product of her father and someone else. Of course she wouldn't scream. Qin Mo couldn't help but smile, while Qin Xian's expression was somewhat sad. He knew that his father was already gone. Qin Mo noticed his emotions and felt sorry for him. He squatted down and said, in the future, you and Yi Huan can be the same. You can live with us if you want. After he finished speaking, Qin Xian's eyes lit up. After all, he was still a child. He also yearned for warmth. He could feel warmth from Qin Mo's body. But then, his eyes darkened again. Qin Mo's fingers gently stroked his forehead. What's wrong? Qin Xian looked at him, wanting to say something but hesitating. I'd better stay with Mom. Although his mother wasn't good, she gave birth to him and didn't abandon him. After Qin Xian finished speaking, he was also a little dejected. Somehow, he knew that his uncle didn't like his mother. Now that he had chosen his mother, would his uncle be unhappy? So, he sneaked a glance at Qin Mo. Qin Mo was especially distressed by his son's cautiousness. He sighed in his heart. Actually, Qin Xian shouldn't have existed. Even Qin Lu probably didn't know about this child's existence. It was Aijia's madness that caused Qin Xian's tragedy. He wanted to make it up to this child as much as possible. This was the first time that Qin Mo was in a dilemma. A 10-year-old child already knew too much. Otherwise, he could have raised this child with Yi Huan. At this time, he could only comfort him warmly. You can live with Mom. Uncle can bring you home for 2 days a week. How about Qin Xian? Qin Xian's eyes slightly widened. He never knew that he could negotiate with adults. How could he know that he could have a child if he chose 1 or 2? So, his good-looking eyes were a little watery. Beside him, Yi Huan let out a strange cry. Boys can't cry. Chapter 47-32. Yi Huan screamed, Don't cry, you're a boy. Qin Xian bit his lip, his eyes red, which made people's hearts ache. Qin Mo reached out and patted Yi Huan's little head. Don't say that. Yi Huan said, oh, and secretly looked at Qin Xian. She couldn't help but add, You're a boy. Big brother Shinting never cries. Qin Xian liked Yi Huan very much, probably because they were related by blood. He asked in a low voice, What if he's sad? Yi Huan shook her little head. Sad? Brother Shin? Brother Shin? It didn't seem like it. She had to ask him later if he would be sad. But now Qin Xian was still looking at her eagerly, as if he wanted to know the answer, which made Yi Huan feel that she was the big sister now. She looked at Qin Xian up and down again, feeling that he had the potential to become her little brother. Yi Huan replied in an old-fashioned way, Men either drink a little wine or play ball. That's about it, Dad. Oh. A little person still wanted a correct answer. Qin Mo's mood was a little complicated, but after hearing Yi Huan's words, he couldn't help but laugh. He answered his little daughter's words seriously, but Qin Xian is very young, and he is not in good health, so he can't play ball for the time being. Yi Huan was in a dilemma. She stared at Qin Xian for a long time, as if she was thinking of a good idea for him. Of course, in the end, she couldn't think of anything. She sighed and said, You'd better cry. However, Qin Xian couldn't cry anymore. He stared at Yi Huan curiously. Yi Huan held his hand. Brother Qin Xian, let's go home. Brother Qin Xian. Go home. Qin Xian felt like crying again. Can't cry, he told himself. Qin Mo opened the door for the two kids and sat in the car to fasten his seatbelt. Qin Xian rarely went out, so Yi Huan helped him fasten his seatbelt. Yi Huan was very happy. She had another older brother. As long as he wasn't her father's biological father, it was fine. Qin Mo had mixed feelings as he drove. He had thought about what to say to Yi Huan, but he didn't know how she would react. In fact, he could give Qin Xian to someone else, but Qin Xian was like this, and Qin Lu did it for him. He couldn't leave him alone and let someone else take care of him. Qin Xian had said that he was looking for trouble for himself, and Qin Mo knew it very well. However, facing Qin Xian like this, he couldn't let go. He wanted to make up for what he owed Qin Lu on this child. Moreover, Qin Xian was very obedient and sensible, and he got along well with Yi Huan. Perhaps, if possible, he could really keep Qin Xian by his side. Qin Mo thought to himself as the car drove into the gate of the villa. At this time, the sky was already dark. Qin Mo got out of the car with the two kids. Qin Xian seemed a little restrained, so Qin Mo comforted him. They walked into the house together, and Yi Huan was already waiting. In the warm big house, the lights were also warm. In the middle of the living room, there was a cart with a 3-tiered cake on it with the number 35. Qin Mo stood still and looked at his wife. Is there anyone celebrating a birthday? I don't remember anyone in the family being 35 years old. As Qin Mo spoke, he took off his coat and put it on the sofa. He also put Yi Huan's little school bag away. Yi Huan's gaze fell on Qin Xian's face, and she said softly, "This is Qin Lu's child? So beautiful." Chapter 47-33. Yi Huan's gaze fell on Qin Xian's face and she said softly, "This is the child from the land of Qin? He's so beautiful." Qin Mo's gaze became a little warm, and he replied, "Yes." He touched Qin Xian's hand lightly and said, "Call me auntie." Qin Xian looked up at Yi Huan and meowed like a kitten. Yi Huan squatted down and patted Qin Xian's head like Qin Mo, "Let's eat cake together. Auntie made a lot of dishes tonight. There are 2 children's meals." A faint blush appeared on Qin Xian's small face. This was a rare occurrence, and he was a bit shy. Yi Huan was beautiful and gentle. It was the first time a woman talked to him so gently and asked him to eat cake with her. Qin Xian had never had a birthday, so cakes were unfamiliar to him. Hence, when Yi Huan led him to the side of the cake, his eyes were filled with desire as he looked at the cake. Yi Huan also jumped over and clapped her hands. "It looks great." She thought for a moment and said, "Mom, should we wait for Brother Shen?" Yi Huan smiled and said, "You can leave the best piece for him." "Okay." Yi Huan raised her little face and looked at her mommy. Then, she let out a strange cry, "I know." Yi Huan lowered her head and asked, "What do you know?" Yi Huan's gaze was still on her face. She said very slowly, "I know. Mom wants to eat it too. I can't wait." Yi Huan was speechless. At this moment, Qin Mo looked at Yi Huan. The weather was a little cold in early spring, but Yi Huan was wearing a set of white home clothes with a hat and a bunny. She was very cute and was quite a rare sight. When Yi Huan didn't know what to say, Qin Mo walked behind her and gently hugged her waist. "Are you that greedy?" Yi Huan was startled and instinctively wanted to break free, but he was holding her too tightly. She turned her head to look at him and simply let him be. She just pouted and said, "I'm not as greedy as you say." Qin Mo smiled. "Really?" "Of course." Yi Huan harumphed. Then, she looked at the cake and said, "My movie has exceeded 3.5 billion yuan in the box office. Shouldn't we be celebrating?" Qin Mo smiled again. "You still want to be a director?" As he spoke, he helped her light the candle. His arms stretched across her as if he was holding her in his arms. As for him, he didn't care that his children were by his side. Yi-Huan was already used to it. Anyway, the person Papa loved the most was her mother. Qin Mo lit the candles and asked Yi-Huan to make a wish. She didn't understand. "You're a great director." He smiled and urged her. "Quickly blow out the candles. The children are waiting to eat the cake." Yi-Huan blew out the candles a little embarrassedly. Qin Mo cut a few pieces. He gave the 2 small pieces and gave Yi-Huan a rather big piece. She said that she couldn't finish it, but it would be finished in a while. In return, Qin Mo looked at her with a mocking gaze. It was Qin Xian's first time eating cake, so he ate very slowly. It was as if he was savoring the taste in it. He tasted something called happiness. It was a happiness that he had only seen in books and on television. He was careful not to show it. If he was too happy, everything in front of him would disappear. Yi-Huan finished eating. Originally, she wanted to eat another piece. However, as a middle-aged girl, she thought about her figure and gave up on the idea. Instead, she looked at Yi-Huan. After eating a big piece, she cut another big piece and ate it contentedly. Her face was full of satisfaction. She even exchanged ideas with Qin Xian. Chapter 47-34. Qin Xian had a reserved look on his face. He smiled lightly, indicating that it was the best cake he had ever eaten. He was too embarrassed to say that it was his first time. Yi-Huan nodded understandingly. "That's because you ate it with me. That's why it tastes so good and smells so good." Qin Xian was speechless for a moment. How could he deal with such a confident Yi-Huan? Yi-Huan, who was standing at the side, was also stunned. Yi-Huan was really overconfident. Qin Mo smiled. "It's hereditary. You were like this when you were young. You were like this when you were in my house." At that time, he was just like Qin Xian. He was stunned for a moment and was actually attracted. It was as if he was happy to have such a little thing in his house. Slowly, he wanted to monopolize her. He wanted to keep her forever so that he would always be happy in the future. Just thinking about it made Qin Mo smile. He and Yi-Huan had a wonderful childhood. At least, he thought so. But when Yi-Huan thought about it, she would probably scream. He had indeed teased her a lot. But now, Yi-Huan obviously wanted to eat more. She was just restraining herself. He smiled and pushed the cake in front of her. "This is for you." Yi-Huan looked disgusted. "Qin Mo, you've already eaten this. I just touched the edge. It doesn't affect the taste. Or do you think I'm dirty?" he asked with a smile. There was a hint of gentleness in his tone. Yi-Huan stared at him. Qin Mo reached out and fed her a small piece. "Be good. Eat it. Don't waste it." Yi-Huan resisted. "Why don't you eat it yourself?" She was a little disgusted, but she felt that it was delicious when she ate it. So she looked down and signaled silently. Amused, Qin Mo continued to feed her. He fed her mouthful by mouthful and successfully filled Yi-Huan's stomach. After that, Yi-Huan and Yi-Huan lay on the sofa, and Qin Mo let Yi-Huan lean against his leg. When Yi-Huan saw this, she grabbed Qin Xian and rested her head on his stomach, feeling righteous. Now, they just had to wait for Shenting to come back for dinner. However, Shenting called back at 6:00, saying that he had an activity at school and might not come back until 8:00. They were supposed to have dinner together, but they were too full after eating so many snacks. So, they decided to wait for Shenting to come back and have dinner together. This was also to let Qin Xian and Shenting get to know each other. After all, they were both important members of the family. Qin Xian was a little restrained. Later, Yi-Huan became a little impatient and dragged him upstairs to see her treasures. Many of them were bought for her by Shenting and Xiangnan. Downstairs, He Huan looked up and saw the children go upstairs. She sat up and scratched her hair. Why is there a child all of a sudden? Where's Qin Lu? Is it inconvenient for him to take care of him? Although she didn't bring any luggage and Qin Mo didn't tell her anything, she just felt that Qin Xian was going to stay at home for a long time. She didn't have anything else, but she was still curious. After all, there was one more person in the house. Qin Mo wanted to smoke, but he resisted the urge. After a moment of silence, he reached out and gently stroked He Huan's hair. Then, he pressed her little head into his arms. Qin Lu isn't here anymore. When I was in Meisher, he saved me. He Huan was stunned. How could that be? She remembered that Qin Lu was very, very powerful. How could someone like that, and it was for Qin Mo? She looked a little dazed. Qin Mo smiled bitterly. It's true. Chapter 47-35. He Huan asked in a daze, what about Qin Xian's mother? Qin Mo didn't answer her directly. He reached out and tugged at his wife's hair before saying softly, Qin Xian is sick, leukemia, so it's better for the Qin family to take care of him. If possible, I want to bring him to our side. As for his mother, he said conservatively, it's not suitable for her to take care of Qin Xian. He Huan was in disbelief. She had forgotten about Yi Huan, but when she saw Yi Huan and knew that this was her child, she was willing to do anything. She asked softly, doesn't she love Qin Xian? Is it because Qin Xian is sick? Qin Mo stared at her for a while before nodding his head lightly. He Huan let out a long, oh, and then said slowly, if she doesn't want Qin Xian, you can bring him back. Anyway, I'm not a big director anymore, so it shouldn't be a problem for me to take care of a child. Qin Mo smiled. I thought you would throw him to Shenting. He Huan said unhappily, you were the one who brought Shenting back. Why did you ask me to throw him to Shenting? Qin Mo was still smiling. At this moment, he felt that He Huan was extremely soft and obedient. She was even more obedient and adorable than when she was a teenager. Men didn't need a woman to be capable, they just needed her to be by their side and be happy. But at the same time, he knew that he was hiding a part of it. He couldn't tell her that Qin Xian's mother was Ai Jia, that she was such a despicable person who hurt He Huan and caused her to lose her memory. She even did a lot of heartless things. Other than being afraid that He Huan couldn't accept it, it was also because of Qin Xian. He was afraid that He Huan would treat this child with complicated feelings and that he would always owe Qin Lu. Qin Mo's feelings were especially complicated. In the end, it turned into a sigh and he gently hugged He Huan in his arms. After a long time, he said softly, Huan, I've liked you since you were a child. The men of the Qin family are very loyal, huh? He Huan was bewildered by his sudden gentleness and confession. After a long while, she whispered, Qin Mo, what's wrong? He didn't say anything and just hugged her tightly. He Huan nodded and didn't say anything else. Then, she quietly hugged him with her small hands. She felt that Qin Mo needed comfort at this moment. At such a tender moment, little Yi Huan and Qin Xian were peeping on the second floor. Yi Huan's voice sounded like an elder. See, I told you. They're hugging each other again. They hug each other whenever they have time. Qin Xian's little face was a little red. After all, it was his first time seeing such a scene. So, he stared at them without moving. Yi Huan patted him and comforted him. Big brother Qin Xian, you have to get used to it. Don't act like you've never seen the world. You have to get used to it in our house. You have to get used to daddy only having eyes for mommy and I'm like a cheat. She sighed again. I've long gotten used to it. I've accepted my fate. Baby, don't cry. I still have big brother Shen. Qin Xian's gaze was still fixed on the people hugging each other. After a long time, he whispered, are uncle and auntie in love? Yi Huan let out a weird cry. It's such an obvious fact. You still have to ask? Qin Xian bit his lips and said slowly, "But I don't know if Daddy and Mommy love each other. Mommy has never mentioned Daddy and I've never seen him. I only know that he looks like Uncle Qin Mo. The first time he saw Qin Mo, he almost called him Daddy." However, this man who looked exactly like him in the photo had squatted down and told him gently that he was his uncle. At that moment, Qin Xian felt his nose sting. At that moment, he finally believed that his daddy was no longer around. All the care he was giving him now was sympathy. Chapter 47-36. Qin Xian's expression was especially gloomy. Everything in front of him was blissful, but it didn't belong to him. To him, it was like a dream, an illusion, and a shadow. Even a child as young as Yi Huan could tell that something was wrong with him. Yi Huan was also a little mischievous. She had seen a lot on TV, so she stretched out her little hands and gave Qin Xian a comforting hug. She even promised, "I'll be here for you in the future." Qin Xian looked at the little girl who was the same height as him. Really, they were the same height. He wasn't very tall because of his poor health, but he knew more than Yi Huan and was very sensitive. Being hugged by Yi Huan, Qin Xian had an indescribable feeling. He knew that this was his sister, and he could really feel the strange feeling brought about by their blood relationship. Just then, Enchanting came back. He had gotten used to the public display of affection downstairs. But upstairs, little Yi Huan was hugging a very good-looking boy. The boy was as pretty as Yi Huan. Enchanting looked up, ignoring Yi Huan and Qin Mo. When Yi Huan saw Enchanting, she let go of Qin Xian and rushed downstairs like a little train. "Big brother." She hugged Enchanting like Shi Xiaoxiong. Enchanting smiled faintly. "What's wrong?" He carried Yi Huan and she pointed upstairs. "This is big brother Qin Xian." Qin. Enchanting felt that his heart, which was beating a little fast, had calmed down again. He put down Yi Huan and looked at Qin Xian with a warm smile. Qin Xian looked especially shy. At least, he looked more reserved than Yi Huan. When Enchanting looked at Qin Xian also looked at him. In Enchanting, he saw a very warm power, an attribute that belonged to older and younger boys, and this attribute was attracting Enchanting, making him want to get close to Enchanting. Qin Xian walked down the stairs step by step until he stood in front of Enchanting. They were only 4 or 5 years apart, but one was more than 170 centimeters tall, while the other was only about 1 meter tall. The difference was not small. Enchanting clearly knew that Qin Xian was older than Yi Huan, but seeing that Qin Xian was so small and cute, he couldn't help but pick up Qin Xian and kiss him like a child. This was one of the dark histories that Qin Xian could not forget after he became an adult. He dared to bet that right now, Enchanting was definitely treating him like a little brat and kissing him. He was almost 10 years old. Could it be done automatically? However, the 10-year-old Qin Xian did not know how to refuse. He just looked at Enchanting with a slightly red face. He didn't know how to refuse. Later, Yi Xiangnan met him and heard that Enchanting had hugged and kissed him, so he also hugged and kissed him. For Qin Xian, it was another dark history. At this time, Qin Xian was being hugged by Enchanting, and he couldn't get down. He was a little anxious, but he was embarrassed to say it, so his face was a little red. Yi Huan screamed at the side, "Qin Xian, you really look better than a girl." Qin Xian's reaction was that his face became even redder. Yi Huan looked at him eagerly and then said happily, "You look really good." A few more black lines appeared on Qin Mo's face. Enchanting was a boy after all, so he could guess what Enchanting was thinking. He also knew that he was a little rude just now. Enchanting wouldn't do this usually, probably because Qin Xian and Yi Huan looked too similar, and they were very cute. He couldn't help but let his hands slip. Qin Mo and Yi Huan had stopped hugging a long time ago, and they laughed when they saw the situation. Chapter 47-37. Qin Mo and Yi Huan stopped hugging each other and laughed out loud at the scene. Qin Xian was even more embarrassed. He lowered his slender neck. The skin on his neck was very white and the blood vessels were almost transparent. Enchanting was older and could tell at a glance that Qin Xian was not in good health. He probably had a serious illness. However, he was older and didn't say anything. He pulled the children to the washroom and said, "Wash your hands and eat." The backs of the two children looked very heartwarming. Qin Mo tilted his head and looked at He Huan. "Mrs. Qin, how do you feel?" He Huan snorted. "Enchanting is usually not at home, so I can teach Qin Xian myself." After she said that, Qin Mo looked at her and his voice suddenly became hoarse. "He Huan, do you love me because of my dog?" He Huan's eyes were level with his heart. She didn't say anything and just reached out to pull his sweater. After a while, she looked up and said, "You can also explain it like that." Qin Mo smiled and patted her. "Go wash your hands." He Huan was very displeased. "You can't treat me like a child." "Not 18? Qin Mo's face was full of mischief. He Huan stared at him for a few seconds and then ran away. After she left, Qin Mo went to the dining room and sat down. After sitting down, he touched his pocket and instinctively wanted to smoke. However, thinking that the children were all there, especially Enchanting who was under a lot of pressure and was in his teens, he gave up. As he was thinking, He Huan and the children came over for dinner. The food was authentic Chinese food. Before dinner, He Huan presented a piece of cake to Enchanting. "Big brother, eat the cake." Enchanting was surprised. Qin Mo didn't deny it. Your aunt wanted to eat it herself, so she found an excuse to order a cake. It was really straight to the point. She didn't save him any face at all. Enchanting could tell, but he pretended not to. Still smiling, he said, "Let me try." Most men or boys didn't like sweets, and Enchanting was no exception. However, he would give face to the kindness of the elders or He Huan's flattery. After a few bites, Enchanting looked at He Huan's sparkling eyes and found it funny. Then, he began to feed her the cake on the small plate. He Huan secretly ate it one bite at a time. She was definitely not greedy. She was just helping brother Enchanting with a small matter. Qin Xian was only 10 years old, but he could tell that Enchanting treated He Huan differently. Enchanting's surname was Shen, and He Huan's surname was Qin. As Qin Xian's thoughts ran wild, Qin Mo picked up some food for him and asked gently, "Are you used to using chopsticks?" Qin Xian nodded shyly. Then, he picked up some food and ate it politely. He was very familiar with using chopsticks, so Qin Mo was relieved. He was afraid that this child would only know how to use a knife and fork after staying abroad for too long. He Huan didn't care much about other things. At this moment, Qin Xian had Qin Mo to take care of him, so she didn't worry. She drank the nourishing soup. Perhaps it was a little hot, but after a while, her face became a little rosy. Recently, she had been taking good care of herself. She took supplements every day, and then, her face became a little hot. She looked up and saw that Qin Mo was looking at her, so her face became even hotter. "Don't fall asleep later. Wait for me." Qin Mo leaned forward and whispered to her. He Huan's eyes widened as she stared at him. He was really shameless. Qin Mo chuckled. "Since Qin Xian is here, shouldn't we have a small meeting?" He Huan bit her lip and couldn't help it anymore. Qin Mo. Chapter 47-38. Qin Mo smiled and lowered his voice. "I'll put Qin Xian to sleep first. We can't always count on Enchanting to be our mother, right?" He Huan felt that he was getting more and more ridiculous, so she simply ignored him. Qin Mo smiled again and finished his meal. He still had work to deal with, so he let He Huan play with Qin Xian and gave some instructions. After thinking for a while, he looked at Enchanting and asked him to go to the study with him. Enchanting nodded. He had a lot of homework that night, but Uncle Qin's tests always focused on the company and finance. Qin Mo never asked about his homework at school. After dinner, he went to Qin Mo's study to participate in an international video conference. Qin Mo didn't let him watch. He introduced Enchanting as his assistant to all the foreign executives. Fortunately, Enchanting was tall enough, so he didn't arouse suspicion even though he was a little immature. Enchanting's English had long reached the level of translation, and he was able to communicate with them fluently. His ability to adapt and absorb surprised Qin Mo. He thought that if he let Enchanting go now, he would be able to take over in his early 20s. However, he had promised him that he would let him spend 3 years with Yi Huan. Men were ambitious. In fact, Qin Mo wanted an extraordinary business genius to be born in his hands. He almost regretted it now, but it seemed that it was useless. After the meeting, Qin Mo closed his laptop and looked at Enchanting, who was taking notes on the sofa. He asked in a relaxed manner, "How do you feel?" Enchanting looked up and lowered his head to write the last few lines. "Not bad." Qin Mo's good-looking fingers gently tapped on the smooth table. He thought for a while and asked, "You have homework later, right? Can you take it?" As he spoke, he picked up the coffee beside him, which was specially provided by Qin Chen, and took a sip. As for Enchanting, he could only drink Red Bull and Duobao. Children were not allowed to drink coffee, no matter how sleepy they were. Enchanting shook his head reservedly. "No problem." Qin Mo still smiled faintly. "You have to take care of Yi Huan. You have to manage the school affairs, learn the company affairs, and even have Qin Xian at home later. It's a little busy." Enchanting said without hesitation, "Yi Huan and Qin Xian are not troublesome. They are just a part of life. Uncle, I don't feel tired." These words had a profound meaning. At this time, as an old father, Qin Mo sized up Enchanting. He always felt that this young man's ambition was not small. However, this wolf cub was recruited into the family by him, but was it better than he thought? Qin Mo looked at Enchanting. Enchanting's EQ was so high that he could feel his father's hostility. Enchanting looked straight into Qin Mo's eyes. His eyes were filled with determination, which made Qin Mo feel helpless, but also somewhat convinced. He also felt a little proud. Such an outstanding young man was personally selected by him. He sighed and walked out with Enchanting. He reached out and put his hand on Enchanting's shoulder. He smiled again. "If you are really my son, it's also very good." "That would be perfect." Enchanting's body stiffened. At that moment, he could feel Qin Mo's high regard for him and the regret that he was not his biological son. Compared to the identity of Yi Huan's husband, Qin Mo was more willing to see him as the legitimate successor. Enchanting's identity was a little subtle. He stood at the door of the study, then smiled and said, "Uncle, I will balance it out." Qin Mo sighed inwardly again. Chapter 47-39. Qin Mo sighed inwardly again. Was he too harsh on such a good child? Enchanting was very good, but when Yi Huan grew up, her love might not necessarily be Enchanting. At that time, he would feel sorry for Enchanting. After all, he had worked so hard for so many years. However, men still understood men. No matter how much he sighed, it would only turn into a pat on the shoulder. After leaving the study, Enchanting went to do his homework. Qin Mo went to Yi Huan's room, where Qin Xian was. Because it was too temporary, there was no special bedroom for Qin Xian, so he could only sleep in the guest room tonight. Qin Mo took Qin Xian away. At the door, he thought for a while and told his little daughter, "Enchanting may work very late tonight. Don't disturb him." Yi Huan said, "Oh," and then secretly thought that Enchanting seemed to have no fun in his life. Every day, he was either working with his father or studying, just like brother Xiangnan. Was it so hard to be a man? Then she'd better not be a man. She'd better be a little girl. Therefore, after her father closed the door, the the little girl went to check her little dresses again and found that there were not many. Well, it was time to buy a few little dresses. Qin Mo did not know that Yi Huan changed her mind so quickly. She was willing to change her taste, but she felt that boys were too boring. At this time, he was only worried about Qin Xian. He was afraid that this child would be uncomfortable with strangers. Fortunately, Qin Xian was willing to stay. Of course, if he stayed to take care of him for a long time, he still had to have a good talk with this child. This was something that Shinting could not replace. The guest room was also a suite. There were separate cloakrooms and bathrooms. If Qin Xian stayed for a long time, he only needed to decorate the room in a style that boys liked. The room was warmly lit, and there was a set of comfortable sofas in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows. Qin Xian felt that this place was like a home. There was Yi Huan, brother Shinting, aunties, uncles, and delicious food and cakes. He fell in love with this place, but he didn't dare to love it too much. He was afraid that if he loved it too much, he would be disappointed if he couldn't come back in the future. Since young, he had grown up in disappointment again and again. Therefore, Qin Xian's love had always been shallow, restrained and patient, including the girls he liked after he grew up, and he only liked 5 out of 10 girls. Because if he liked too much, he would be very sad if he lost it. Just like now, he clearly liked her very much, but he tried hard to convince himself that it was only 5 points. Qin Mo reached out and gently patted Momo's little head. "Do you like it here?" Qin Xian nodded. "I like it." Qin Mo's expression and voice became gentler. "I've told your aunt that you can stay here for a long time." After saying that, his gaze fell on Qin Xian's face. Qin Xian said softly, "What about mommy? Can I stay here too?" Qin Mo shook his head. Only Qin Xian. To Qin Xian, this was a huge temptation. He longed for such warmth, but he felt that if he agreed to it, he wouldn't be able to take it if he lost it in the future. If he didn't have it, he wouldn't lose it. This was his rule of survival since young, and it was a heart-wrenching rule. He lowered his head. "Mommy won't be happy." Qin Mo roughly understood his thoughts. After all, Qin Xian was only a 10-year-old child, and his thoughts were very transparent. How could they escape the eyes of an adult? Qin Mo's voice was hoarse. "What if your mommy is willing to let you stay with the Qin family?" Chapter 4740. Qin Mo's voice was hoarse. "What if your mother is willing to put you in the Qin family?" Qin Xian raised his eyes and stared at Qin Mo. After a long time, he said slowly, "Uncle, do you want me?" "Yes, I want to take care of you by myself." Qin Mo smiled warmly and picked up Qin Xian. And this was the warmth that Qin Xian couldn't refuse. Qin Xian was originally sure that he wanted to live with his mother, but now he hesitated. For Qin Xian, his mother was the one who gave birth to him, but she wasn't his family. After coming to Qin Mo's side, he felt what it meant to be a family. People couldn't help but want to get close to them. Qin Xian bit his lower lip, and his little face was unbelievably beautiful. Finally, he slowly leaned into Qin Mo's arms, a warm and wide embrace that could carry all the little boy's yearning. At that moment, he wanted to cry, but he remembered that Yi Huan had said that he was a boy, so he tried his best to hold it back. Qin Mo felt his emotions and lowered his head to kiss the little boy's forehead. In fact, it's not only boys, even adult men have times when they break down. It's not shameful to cry a little. Qin Xian let out an "ah" and then looked at Qin Mo in disbelief. His voice was even softer. "Uncle, have you also cried?" Qin Mo hesitated for a few seconds, and then smiled faintly. "I think so." Qin Xian let out an "ah" and put his little face on Qin Mo's arm. After a while, he asked carefully, "Uncle, why did you cry?" Qin Mo smiled gently. "Because of feelings, because of your aunt." Qin Xian didn't know what love was, and he didn't dare to ask. He just obediently lay in Qin Mo's embrace. At this moment, he felt that he was very close to his uncle. Because he could feel sad and wanted to cry, so did his uncle. So they were the same kind of people. Chin Mo coaxed him for a long time. After making sure that he was not afraid of the dark, he closed the door and left. At the door, he looked at the bed again. Qin Xian's small body was buried in the quilt. Only his head was exposed. In the darkness, his eyes were bright. Qin Mo smiled, closed the door, and went to check on the other two children before returning to the bedroom. Indeed, He Huan hadn't slept yet. After taking a shower, she wore pajamas and leaned against the sofa to play games. However, she wasn't waiting for him to do anything. Instead, she had something to ask Qin Mo. After all, there was suddenly a big child in the family. Qin Mo opened the bedroom door and saw He Huan sitting there. He rubbed his eyebrows, walked over to sit beside her, and pulled her into his arms. "Are you really waiting for me?" He Huan was still playing games. Seeing him like this, she shouted, "Wait, let me finish this game." Qin Mo's gaze fell on her face. A few seconds later, he let go of her and leaned against the sofa's armrest, closing his eyes to rest. As He Huan played, she took a look at him. "You're very tired, aren't you?" Qin Mo closed his eyes and grunted. He Huan finished playing in 2 or 3 games. Of course, she didn't care if she lost. She threw her phone down and leaned close to him to look at him carefully. She was so close that they could feel each other's long breaths. Qin Mo suddenly smiled. With his hands behind his head, he opened his eyes and looked at her. "What's wrong?" He Huan simply knelt beside him and looked at Qin Mo carefully. He didn't say anything and let her look at him. After a while, He Huan murmured, "Where's Qin Xian's mother?" Chapter 47-41. Memorize. Under the warm light, Qin Mo's gaze became a little deep. After a long while, he said in a low and hoarse voice, "His mother is Ai Jia." Under the same warm light, He Huan's face changed and became a little pale. She looked at Qin Mo and said very slowly, "Is it that Ai Jia who made me lose my memory?" Although she couldn't remember much of what happened in the past, she knew what happened after she lost her memory. Ai Jia was Ai Mengmeng's older sister. She caused Ai Mengmeng to run away from home, and Ai Jia had done so many bad things in the past. How could it be Qin Xian's mother? He Huan was shocked. Qin Mo didn't say anything for the time being. She just stared at him. After a long while, Qin Mo sighed and said, "It's very complicated. Ai Jia spent money from the gold vault to ask for Qin Lu, so Qin Lu doesn't know about this child. Qin Lu is gone, and Qin Xian is very sick, so I want to take care of him personally. He Huan, I know that this request is too much for you, so this is a discussion, not a notification." He Huan was still in shock and kept looking at Qin Mo. Qin Mo reached out and ruffled her hair. "I know this is very unfair, but I owe Qin Lu. I owe him my life." He Huan looked at him and said softly, "If she wanted to use you to repay, would you still send yourself to her?" After she said that, Qin Mo smiled. "Are you jealous at a time like this?" "I'm not." He Huan bit her lip and harumphed. Qin Mo smiled. "Of course not. I only owe Qin Lu, and it's still with Qin Xian. As for Ai Jia, we can negotiate some terms." Looking at his expression, He Huan knew how worried he was. She couldn't help but lean over and whisper, "Qin Mo, you're very sad and conflicted, aren't you?" Her approach made Qin Mo feel much better. He reached out and gently stroked her hair. His voice was slightly low. "Believe me, I hope that Ai Jia will be brought to justice just like you, but for the sake of Qin Xian, you'll let her go and even promise her some conditions, right?" He Huan raised her head. "Qin Mo, this isn't your style." Qin Mo smiled bitterly and sighed, "You know, Qin Lu didn't grow up in the Qin family. He had his own mission, but in the end, he gave his life to me. Hearing that, He Huan withdrew from Qin Mo's arms. Qin Mo let her leave. He Huan retreated to the other end of the sofa, hugged her knees, and buried her head in them. But after a while, she sneaked a glance at Qin Mo. Qin Mo felt a little sad. For He Huan's sake. He sighed. This was making things difficult for her. At this time, she needed to be alone to digest it. He Huan stayed alone. After a long time, she turned her head and looked at him. There was stubbornness in her eyes. There were also tears that she had been holding back. For He Huan, this was a very difficult thing to do. Right now, she was still an 18-year-old girl. She was not much more mature than Shinting. But now, the cruel reality was attacking her. Qin Mo didn't want to tell her either, but he knew he had to tell her. After an unknown amount of time, He Huan's voice was very soft and even had a thick nasal tone. She said, Qin Mo, I want to sleep. When people wanted to escape from something, they would eat, shop, or even sleep to escape from reality. He Huan was no exception. She wanted to sleep now. Chapter 47-42. Memorize. As soon as she moved, Qin Mo grabbed her hand and said in a low voice, He Huan. He Huan sniffed and said, let's talk about it tomorrow. I want to sleep now. According to a man's character, today's problem should be solved today, but He Huan wasn't a man, so he couldn't force her. Qin Mo let go of her and rubbed her hair instead. His voice was very gentle. Go to sleep. I'll take a shower. Oh, He Huan replied in a voice that sounded like a kitten. Qin Mo knew that he had made things difficult for her today, so he smiled at her gently and wanted to hug her. He did not say it out loud. But for some reason, He Huan came over and hugged him. Qin Mo's body stiffened. Feeling the small and adorable creature in his arms, he lowered his head and kissed her forehead. What's wrong? He Huan threw herself into his arms. After a while, she raised her head and said in a soft and cute voice, Qin Mo, you're sad too, aren't you? Qin Mo didn't say anything, so He Huan didn't ask anymore. She just kissed him through his sweater. I'm going to bed. Qin Mo watched as she climbed onto the bed. She lay down and pulled up the blanket. He stood alone in silence for a while before going to the bathroom. He didn't take a shower immediately, but leaned against the sink and smoked for a while. When the pack of cigarettes was empty, he crushed it and threw it into the trash can. He turned on the exhaust fan to remove the smell before taking a quick shower. When Qin Mo returned to the bedroom, He Huan seemed to have fallen asleep. Only a strand of her black hair could be seen. He smiled and moved to pull back the covers and lay down beside her. Knowing that she wasn't asleep, he tugged at her hair. Aren't you afraid of suffocating? It's none of your business. He Huan's voice was gloomy. Then, she turned around and ignored him. Qin Mo couldn't help but smile. He lay flat and looked at the ceiling. After a while, he couldn't help but turn her over. Are you still angry? He Huan refused to approach him. She lowered her head and snorted. Shouldn't I be angry? It should be, Qin Mo murmured. It's my fault. He Huan felt wronged. She could not remember anything. He said that they were husband and wife and that they loved each other very much. Now that Romeo had a wife, she didn't know what to do. Now that she was with Qin Mo, she realized that he had a lot of things to do. He Huan's little face was pressed against the pillow, and her fingers gently touched the pillowcase. Her voice was very, very soft. With you like this, I really don't know how we got along well in the past. We even fell in love. Qin Mo, are you lying to me? You have a lot of dark history. I'm not that stupid, right? Qin Mo chuckled softly. But you're an idiot. You're the fool, she said defiantly. Qin Mo was still smiling. Yes, I'm also an idiot. After he said that, He Huan looked at him and laid on the pillow. Time to sleep. Qin Mo raised his hand and dimmed the lights. Then, they lay flat together. He Huan's body was weak. Even though she was full of thoughts, she soon fell asleep, especially in his warm arms. Qin Mo didn't fall asleep until late at night. He wanted to get up and smoke a few cigarettes in the study, but He Huan kept hugging him. He was afraid that he would wake her up, so he lay quietly until late at night. When he woke up, his phone rang. He held He Huan with one hand and reached for the phone by the bedside with the other. The call was from none other than Ijia. Chapter 47-43. Qin Mo lowered his head and looked at He Huan. She had woken up and was in his arms, her eyes wide open. He looked at the expression on her face. She seemed to mind. Qin Mo reached out and pinched her little face. Then, he lifted the blanket and got up. I'm going to the study to take the call. He Huan wanted to say something, but Qin Mo had already left and closed the door. He Huan had wanted to listen to the call because she saw that it was Ai Jia, but she gave up after some thought. Qin Mo came back about 5 minutes after he went to the study. When he came back, Qin Mo put his phone aside and leaned against the bed. He Huan looked up. What did you talk about? Qin Mo tilted his head and looked at her silently for a long time. Then, he said in a low voice, we'll talk about it later. He reached out and held her hand. He Huan, if it can be solved with money, it's not a problem. He Huan looked up and said in a weak voice, Qin Mo, it's not that I don't want to spend money. I know. He smiled. You just don't want me to see her. He Huan widened her eyes. I don't think so. Qin Mo was still smiling as he looked at her. He Huan didn't say anything. After a long time, like a little lamb, she said in a dissatisfied voice, I don't want you to see her. Qin Mo laughed out loud and then looked at her very gently. Why don't we go together? He Huan bit her lip. No, I don't want to see her. Qin Mo smiled. This won't do, and that won't do. What should we do then? He Huan looked at him. I'll wait for you in the car with Qin Xian. Qin Mo stared at her for a long time. Then, he smiled and said, okay. He Huan stared at him for a long time before saying, Qin Mo, your smile is very meaningful. He pinched her face. You can see that. So smart. He Huan glared at him. Qin Mo leaned over and whispered, we didn't even have a party last night. Think about how you're going to make it up to me. It took He Huan a long time to figure out what he meant. She shouted, you're shameless. Qin Mo chuckled lowly and had already gone to the bathroom. He quickly cleaned himself up, put on his shirt and trousers, and was tying his tie. He did it a few times, but he didn't seem very satisfied, so he walked in front of her and said, tie it for me. He Huan got up from under the blanket and knelt by the bed. Then, she said in a low voice, I might not be able to play well. As she spoke, she took the tie from his hand and tied it beautifully in a few moves. Even He Huan was a little surprised. When did she get such a skill? Qin Mo smiled. I've said it before. We used to have a good relationship. You often help me fight. Practice makes perfect. This action of yours is already instinctive. He Huan was a little suspicious of his words. Qin Mo bent over and kissed her. You should get up in a while. I've made an appointment at 9. We'll send the kids to school first, then talk to Ai Jia. If we have time, we can also help Qin Xian take care of the school. He Huan asked worriedly, isn't he sick? Isn't it a little too early to take care of the school? Qin Mo's expression was a little warm. We need to let him feel that he's a normal kid and that he has a future. We don't want Qin Xian to wait in this house. If that's the case, there's no difference from before, and there's no need for him to live with us. Oh, He Huan said honestly. But I still think, I don't want you to think, I want me to think. Listen to me. Chin Mo was a little mischievous when he thought of the top class in August. Chapter 47-44. As he had to send the children and He Huan home, Chin Mo drove a 7-seater car and brought the children into the car one by one after breakfast. Yi Huan was now under Shen Ting's care, so He Huan brought Qin Xian along and sat in the back seat of the car. A car full of kids. He Huan was speechless. She thought she was still a young girl, but there were already 3 kids at home. Fortunately, she didn't want to give birth anymore. If she did, the car wouldn't be able to fit her. He Xiaohuan swore to herself that she wouldn't give birth anymore. However, she suddenly remembered that Chin Mo didn't seem to want her to give birth. Every time they did, He Huan didn't dare to continue the thought and blushed. Chin Mo saw a blushing kid in the rearview mirror. He was in a bad mood because he was going to talk to Ai Jia, but now he was in a much better mood, and there was a hint of joy on his face. He Huan probably sensed his mood, so she smiled as well. The atmosphere in the car was very strange. Yi Huan didn't find it strange, but Qin Xian didn't quite understand it. In this strange atmosphere, the 2 kids went to their respective schools, especially Yi Huan. After she skipped to school with her backpack, little Qin Xian leaned against the window and watched for a long time. Qin Mo opened the car door and got in. He smiled as he fastened his seatbelt. "If you want to go to school, I can arrange it right away." He had already contacted a good private kindergarten, which happened to be under Qin Mu's name. With Qin Xian's health, he would be well taken care of there. If the conversation with Ai Jia went well, he would have to go for an interview later. Qin Mo didn't want to be sloppy, so he put in as much effort as he could. Qin Mo's car slid into the driveway and drove straight to Ai Jia's villa. After turning off the engine, he turned his head to look at Qin Xian. "Wait in the car with Auntie, Qin Xian grunted. He was very obedient, but there was some uneasiness in his obedience. Qin Mo then looked at He Huan. "I'll be down in a moment." He Huan nodded. "Don't be too long." After she finished speaking, Qin Mo chuckled softly, then opened the car door and got out. She also thought that he was going to enter the villa, but he pulled open the back seat door. With one hand against her and the other covering little Qin Xian's eyes, he kissed her. He Huan was also at a loss, but by the time she came back to her senses, Qin Mo had already let go of her. His voice was slightly hoarse. "I'm going." Letting go of the adult and the child, he closed the car door and entered the villa. Ai Jia was already there. She was dressed in a dazzling red dress. It was obvious that she had been prepared for a long time. It was just that after going through so many changes and going in, her beauty had become a bit more worldly. Qin Mo was used to seeing beautiful women, so he naturally didn't pay much attention to her. He sat opposite Ai Jia and said indifferently, "Let's talk directly, shall we?" Ai Jia got up and Feng poured her a cup of coffee. When she bent down, she asked softly, "Do you want Qin Xian?" As she said that, she looked straight at Qin Mo. Qin Mo didn't say anything, nor did he drink the coffee. He just looked indifferent. Ai Jia flipped her hair. "What? Are you afraid that I'll drug the coffee?" Qin Mo didn't give her face. "I just can't get used to drinking poor quality coffee." Ai Jia was really embarrassed. She sat back in her original place, a little embarrassed. Qin Mo went straight to the point. "I want to get custody of Qin Xian, and you can visit him if you want. Ai Jia, we can talk about the conditions." Chapter 47-45. Memorize 69 books. Ai Jia's hand trembled as she picked up the coffee. After a long while, she looked up at Qin Mo. "I want Qin Lu's assets." "Sure." Qin Mo was very calm. Qin Lu owns 2 condominiums and a villa in America. He also owns a private jet. Also, 10% of King Entertainment's shares can be transferred to you or Qin Xian. It's up to you. AI Jia looked down. I don't want to sell my son. Qin Mo didn't say a word. In fact, bringing Qin Xian to the Qin family was a form of betrayal. AI Jia could make use of her son and disregard Qin Xian's life, but she couldn't ignore Qin Mo. In the Qin family, he was the one who should be taking care of Qin Xian. Of course, he could let his parents take care of him, but they were a generation apart. His siblings had no obligation to take care of a sick child. Even though he knew it was unfair to He Huan and their lives would be better, he still didn't hesitate. Even if there were many problems later, he would regret it if he didn't do it today. Qin Mo pushed a document in front of AI Jia. This is the transfer of assets. Think about it and I'll get the lawyer to handle it. AI Jia, think about it. 10% of King Entertainment is worth billions. This is your only chance. If you sign it, you and Qin Xian can live a good life. AI Jia looked down. Can he live? Qin Mo didn't answer AI Jia. In fact, no one knew what would happen tomorrow. He just wanted to have a clear conscience. Moreover, he truly loved and cared for that child. If he didn't do it today, he would regret it tomorrow. After a brief emotional moment, AI Jia smiled lightly and said realistically, it would be better for Qin Xian to go back to the Qin family. He would have the best medical care and education. As she spoke, she was about to sign the document. Of course, there was also a transfer of custody. On it, it was clearly stated that she could only see him once a week, and that she could not stay overnight. Within 4 hours of going out, the Qin family had the right to send someone to follow her. AI Jia pinched the piece of paper, her face twisted. Will I hurt Qin Xian? Qin Mo's voice was calm. It's a bit expensive, so you'll have to pay a price too, AI Jia. He said coldly, of course, you can also choose to keep Qin Xian. The Qin family will still match him and take care of him, but what you signed will not belong to you. He was sure what AI Jia would choose. As expected, AI Jia still signed it. Everything that happened before was just an act. If he believed it, he would lose. After AI Jia signed, she was also in a daze. Only now did she remember, where's Qin Xian? Qin Mo didn't tell the truth. He packed up the documents and said lightly, he's at home. I'm taking him to the hospital later. In fact, AI Jia wanted to say that she wanted to see Qin Xian, but when she thought of the documents she had just signed, she felt that it was a bit fake. She bit her lip and looked at Qin Mo. Will you look down on me? No, Qin Mo answered quickly. For me, you're just a stranger. AI Jia's face turned even darker. She wanted to defend herself, but she didn't know where to stand. Qin Mo left. The whole process took about 10 minutes. Just like what he had told He Huan, he would be back soon. When he opened the car door and got in, He Huan bit her lip. That's it? Qin Mo put the documents away and smiled warmly at Qin Xian. We'll take you to the kindergarten for an interview. Chapter 47-46. Qin Mo put the documents away and smiled warmly at Qin Xian. We'll take you to the kindergarten for an interview. Qin Xian was in disbelief. His eyes widened. Qin Mo smiled again. In the future, you can call us Mom and Dad if you want. Heavens, this was truly a huge temptation. However, Qin Xian felt like he was in a dream. Didn't he believe that he could do it? So he pinched him. It didn't hurt. Of course it didn't hurt. He pinched He Huan, and He Huan cried out. Qin Xian apologized shyly. He Huan was afraid that he would overthink, so she comforted him and said it didn't hurt. In fact, how could it not hurt? Qin Mo knew it clearly. He chuckled. If you're not used to it, just call them uncle and auntie for now. Shen Ting calls them that too. Although Qin Xian was weak, he was still a boy. So, Qin Mo wanted to treat him like a boy. Blindly spoiling him wouldn't work. After he finished speaking, Qin Xian grunted in agreement. There was a hint of joy in his tone. It was not that he did not love Ai Jia at all. Rather than saying that Ai Jia was his mother, it was better to say that she was the person who gave birth to him. It was Qin Mo who gave him familial love. Qin Xian really liked that family. Now that he suddenly said that he could live in that family, his mood was especially complicated. It was almost indescribable with words. He had thought about living with his mother, but little Qin Xian had a vague idea that the reason why he could stay was because his mother didn't want him anymore, or maybe she used him in exchange for something. All these were vague. He didn't have the ability to talk to adults. He was more like an object. Who he belonged to depended on luck. Behind this luck was the cruel reality that Qin Xian was abandoned by his biological mother. Ai Jia didn't want him anymore. Other than exchange, there was also trouble. A child who was sick and delicate in her feelings. Qin Xian was already 10 years old. He had only spent less than a month with Ai Jia, so it was obvious that their relationship was very thin. Later, although he grew up beside Qin Mo, his childhood experiences were always different from others. Therefore, Qin Xian was prickly and sensitive. At the same time, he was extremely talented. At this time, he was happy for a while, but also a little disappointed. Qin Mo knew about it. He coughed lightly and pulled Qin Xian to ramble on. Kids were always forgetful and forgot about it after a while. However, when they arrived at the kindergarten, Qin Xian and He Huan shocked Qin Mo. As parents, they were waiting for the results of Qin Xian's interview. The 10-year-old Qin Xian didn't go to school and lived abroad. Therefore, Qin Mo thought that it was a surprise that he could recite some Tang poems. However, after the interview, the teacher's face didn't look good. Qin Mo's heart sank. He thought that it should be bad. Then, he planned to talk to Qin Mu. If it didn't work out, he would sponsor Qin Xian. Anyway, he couldn't let Qin Xian go to school. Unexpectedly, the teacher smiled reluctantly. Student Qin is suitable for primary school. Maybe more than that. Qin Mo was surprised. He looked at Qin Xian. Qin Xian looked very calm. I can try. Qin Mo asked the teacher for the content of the test. He glanced at it quickly and was a little surprised. He couldn't help but look at Qin Xian again. Then, Qin Mo took his new son to find a primary school. Miraculously, the teacher of the primary school did the same. According to Qin Xian's situation, primary school was no longer suitable for him. At least he could go to high school. High school? Qin Mo was also surprised. Chapter 47-47. Updated fast, he was a little excited, but He Huan didn't agree. Back at the villa, Qin Xian was a little tired. Qin Mo asked the housekeeper to take him upstairs to rest, while he stayed at home for lunch and discussed with He Huan. There were 2 people to take care of the child, and he wouldn't make the decision alone. Of course, he hoped that Qin Xian could finish school as soon as possible. He Huan didn't agree. Qin Xian is only 10 years old, and he doesn't need to be a genius. Besides, he's not healthy, so he can just stay in the 4th grade. Plus, he can skip grades in middle school and high school when he gets better. I insist that he go to elementary school and grow up with other kids his age. I refuse your so-called elite education. The most important thing for Qin Xian now is to take care of himself. She said a long string of words, and Qin Mo looked at her with a faint smile. He Huan bit her lip. Why are you looking at me? Qin Mo smiled. I think you're becoming more and more like Mrs. Qin. Ah, He Huan said, I'm talking about something serious. Qin Mo was very absent-minded. He dragged his voice a little. I'm also talking to you about something serious. He Huan didn't want to talk to him anymore, so she repeated what she said before. In fact, Qin Mo was quite touched. He Huan was sincerely treating Qin Xian. He knew He Huan's personality the best. She was very principled. If she didn't like someone, then she didn't like him. She rarely did anything against her will. Now, she was really concerned about Qin Xian, which was why she was so insistent. He felt a little sour in his heart. He felt that Qin Xian had attracted too much of He Huan's attention, but he quickly laughed at himself. When did he become so useless? How could he be jealous of a child that they were going to raise themselves? Qin Mo smiled. He only had work in the afternoon, so he picked up a magazine and snorted, agreeing with He Huan's idea. He Huan yawned in satisfaction and stretched. I'm going upstairs to take a nap. Wake me up when it's time to eat. Qin Mo threw the magazine to the side and said, Can't you accompany me for a while? He Huan bit her lip and snorted after a long while. You're not a child. Only children need company. Qin Mo got up and dragged her upstairs. He said in a low voice, What about the thing you promised me last night? He Huan didn't expect him to say that. She stammered, What did I agree to? Qin Mo raised his eyebrows. He promised to accompany me. He Huan cursed inwardly, he's so shameless. It was only an hour away from dinner, and he still wanted her to accompany him. Qin Mo looked at her wonderful expression, and his bad taste was fully satisfied. He smiled gently and said, What are you thinking about? I just want you to watch TV with me for a while. Huh? He Huan felt a little smug. Qin Mo immediately pulled her hair and said, What are you thinking about? He Huan snorted. I'm not thinking about anything bad. Qin Mo, you're the bad one. At this time, the two of them went upstairs. Qin Mo bent down and whispered in her ear, That's because, Mrs. Qin, you're giving me the cold shoulder. After he said that, He Huan's face became even redder. Then she looked up at him for a long time and squeezed out a sentence. Do you really like me to accompany you? Qin Mo thought it was funny, but he looked serious. I like it. So. Then, I'll accompany you. He Huan felt that her face was going to smoke. I'll accompany you for dinner, and I'll go to the movies with you tonight if you're free. There was a smile in Qin Mo's eyes. You really don't know what I mean, or are you pretending not to know? Chapter 47-48. He Huan stared at him and shouted, Qin Mo. He smiled and said, All right, I'm a little tired. Let's take a nap. Then, he hugged her and lay down on the sofa. He Huan moved a little, but Qin Mo immediately stopped her from moving. Behave yourself, go to sleep. He Huan finally stopped moving, but after a while, she couldn't help but say, Qin Mo, the sofa is too small. How about I sleep on the bed and you sleep on the sofa? Qin Mo closed his eyes and said softly, I think it's quite spacious. He opened one eye to a slit. What is it that keeps you awake, He Huan's face was a little hot, but she still broke free and said, I just feel uncomfortable because I can't move. Qin Mo smiled and let her be. He seemed to be really tired and closed his eyes again. He Huan couldn't fall asleep as she lay on the bed. Taking care of a child was secondary, but she couldn't stop worrying about Ai Jia. She felt that a woman like her. How could she get everything just because she gave birth to a child after doing so many bad things? She didn't even need to be punished by the law. She really couldn't understand it and she couldn't accept it. Then, she fell asleep. When she woke up, she saw Qin Mo's enlarged face. He Huan's voice was a little soft. What time is it? Qin Mo said in a low voice, It's 4 in the afternoon. He Huan let out an ah, and then remembered that Qin Mo had pressed her gently with one hand and said in a low voice, You have a slight fever. She stared at him for a while and then said, How come? Maybe I'm tired. Qin Mo touched her hair gently with his fingers. Shenting and I will take care of Qin Xian. It's hard for you to take care of yourself. At this moment, his eyes were especially gentle, as if he was looking at a little creature. He Huan was somewhat immersed in his gaze. She didn't move much and just lay there obediently. I'll go to the kitchen and get you something to eat. Qin Mo's voice became gentler as he patted her head. He Huan nodded. Where's Qin Xian? He took a nap and is reading now. Qin Mo smiled warmly. He Huan nodded and closed her eyes tiredly. Take good care of him. As he spoke, he fell asleep again. Qin Mo looked at her for a long time, and finally sighed softly. Fortunately, Shenting was at home. Otherwise, it would be troublesome to have so many children. He Huan already needed his care, and now there was another Qin Xian. Qin Mo's black eyes were a little deep. Then, he got up and went to the study. He looked at the company's strategy for this year and next, and then lightly crossed out a few items. He needed to spend time with his family now. No amount of nannies or nurses could compare to his company. He treasured what he had now. He Huan woke up at 6. When she woke up, she was covered in sweat. Her fever had finally subsided. This time, it wasn't Qin Mo who was accompanying her. Instead, it was Qin Xian who was lying on the side of the bed. His little face was covered with a mask, and his big eyes were filled with worry. He Huan smiled. Why are you here? Aren't you afraid of getting infected? She knew that Qin Xian couldn't have a fever with his illness, and this child obviously knew that too. Yet, he still stayed by her side. He Huan felt strange. Qin Xian's voice was very soft. Uncle said that Auntie is sick. I want to take a look. Chapter 47-49. Qin Xian's voice was very soft. Uncle said that Auntie is sick. I want to take a look. He Huan smiled. Little fool, aren't you afraid of getting infected? Qin Mo shook his head vigorously. He looked a little silly and cute. He Huan's feelings became even stronger. She reached out to touch Momo, the soft child, but she was afraid that her illness would spread to him, so her hands stopped in midair. Qin Xian probably knew what she was thinking, so he actually leaned his little head over and rubbed against her hand a few times, like a delicate and furry toy. He Huan's palm felt very soft. She was still stroking his hair, and her voice was very gentle. Where's Uncle? Uncle is having a meeting in the study. I'm accompanying Auntie, Qin Xian said very sensibly. He Huan sat up. I'm fine. Now, let's go downstairs and eat something delicious, okay? Qin Xian looked at her. Auntie, eat. I'll have dinner later. He Huan casually put on a casual home jacket. She turned her head and saw Qin Xian's longing expression. Let's eat something first and then have dinner together, okay? Qin Xian nodded vigorously and said yes. When they went downstairs, they saw that Shenting had returned with Yi Huan. Qin Mo's meeting was also over, so there was no afternoon snack and they went straight to dinner. Because of this, Qin Xian was a little disappointed. It was probably because he didn't have many opportunities to do this. The mistress that the maid took care of was not around for a long time, so he naturally didn't have good treatment. He Huan knew that he was disappointed, so she personally went to the kitchen to pick a few desserts for the children to eat after dinner. Of course, she also picked one for herself. Qin Mo raised his eyebrows and glanced at her, a little amused. Actually, he was raising 4 children. But now it was a good thing that He Huan wanted to eat, which meant that everything was fine. With so many children, although he treasured them, the one he treasured the most was the person who slept with him. At night, when the kids were ready, Qin Mo discussed with He Huan. We have a lot of kids at home. Shenting and Yi Huan are fine, but Qin Xian, we should hire a personal assistant. It'll be easier to take care of him. For example, picking her up, taking care of her daily life, and many other things could be done. He Huan was sitting on the bed. She had been playing games, but when she heard Qin Mo's words, she immediately looked up. Why? Didn't you say that you would take care of it yourself? In this case, what's the difference between it and Ijia? Of course. Qin Mo pinched her little face, sat next to her, and took away the phone from her hand. We just take care of Qin Xian when we don't have time. Most of the time, we take care of him ourselves or play with Yi Huan. Yi Huan didn't say anything. Qin Mo knew that she was unhappy, so he put his arm around her shoulders. Listen to me. You're not in good health, neither is Qin Xian. This arrangement is better, okay? After a long time, Yi Huan finally agreed in a low voice. Then, she looked up and said softly, Qin Mo, I'm the same as Qin Xian. Is there any difference? Qin Mo laughed. How can it be compared to being together? It's not the same at all, okay? You're my wife, and Qin Xian is a junior. How can they be compared? I just feel like I'm doing nothing at home every day. Yi Huan's voice became even softer, revealing a little lack of confidence. Chapter 4750. Qin Mo was surprised. Isn't he a 3.5 billion yuan director? Then, he revealed a wide smile. The dividends are enough for me to eat until I'm old. Where's the money? Yi Huan stretched out her fair hand. Where's the money? Qin Mo's smile deepened. I'll take care of my children and my wife. It's hard to take care of so many people. Yi Huan's eyes widened. What? Why don't you give me my money? Because you're a little silly now. You need the adults to take care of it. He chuckled and pinched her nose. What do you need the money for? Yi Huan glared at him. A woman needs money to feel safe. She bit her lip. Ai Jia gave birth to a child. I heard that I don't have that many shares under my name. Qin Mo, you're too stingy. I've had a child too. She was being unreasonable, but she had the right to argue with him. Qin Mo's voice was low. That's because you still have me. Even though they had divorced, he still couldn't let her go. Qin Mo couldn't believe it when he recalled their divorce. What had he been thinking to let go of her hand? Yi Huan glanced at him. Now you're saying nice things. Where were you back then? Are you settling accounts now, Mrs. Qin? Qin Mo said with amusement, when did you become such a money grubber? You're not like that aloof director. Yi Huan snorted. Of course money is a good thing. What about me? Real estate? Isn't it important in your eyes? Qin Mo moved closer to her and pressed the tip of his nose against hers. Yi Huan snorted again. Money has attributes, but real estate doesn't. She said in a strange tone, maybe you won't be mine one day. So unconfident? Qin Mo chuckled. It's not like you. Yi Huan looked up into his dark eyes. She bit her lip and didn't say anything at first. Then she said in a low voice, I admit that I mind Ai Jia. I think you're too nice to her. Qin Mo sighed helplessly. It's all for Qin Xian. It's not a good thing to have such a mother. The child's heart is too fragile. Yi Huan couldn't help but say, but don't you think it's unfair to those innocent people, me, Ai Mengmeng, or even more people just to take care of Qin Xian's feelings? What Ai Jia did is not even enough for her to spend 30 years in prison. What you're doing now is enough for you to exchange everything in the land of Qin for Qin Xian. Ai Jia got the money, so she should pay the price for what she did. If anything can be achieved with conditions. It was rare for Yi Huan to behave like this. Even though Ai Mengmeng had wronged Yi Huan in the past, Yi Huan still chose to let it go. Subconsciously, Yi Huan always felt that a crazy woman like Ai Jia was a ticking time bomb. Qin Mo shouldn't have let her go. If feelings were omnipotent, what was the use of the law? The law was a place other than feelings. It was impossible for Qin Mo not to know that. In He Huan's opinion, Qin Mo was too impulsive in dealing with this matter. But if she firmly opposed or directly said that she would send Ai Jia to prison, on one hand, it would seem that she was heartless to Qin Xian. On the other hand, it would seem that she was stingy. He Huan didn't want to say it, but she couldn't help it. Chapter 47-51. From He Huan's point of view, Qin Mo was too impulsive in dealing with this matter. However, if she were to oppose it or say that she would send Ai Jia to jail, it would seem that she was heartless to Qin Xian. On the other hand, it would seem that she was stingy. He Huan didn't want to say it, but she couldn't help it. Qin Mo was silent for a long time before he said softly, "I really can't bear to tell Qin Xian that his mother is a bad person and is in jail. It was too cruel for a child. Moreover, the one who sent Ai Jia to jail was the person who would take care of him in the future." After saying that, Qin Mo was in a bad mood. He patted her lightly and said, "I'm going to smoke." He walked out after saying that. He Huan didn't even have time to call him. After he left, she sat on the bed alone. She wanted to play games, but she really wasn't in the mood. She felt a little annoyed. On the one hand, she regretted saying this to Qin Mo. On the other hand, she felt that what he did was wrong. She was a little annoyed. Qin Mo smoked a few cigarettes in the study. In fact, He Huan was right. In this matter, he didn't consider other people's feelings. He ignored Ai Mengmeng, Rongyu, and even He Huan's feelings. He despicably brought Qin Xian back first and let He Huan accept and like him. He Huan didn't realize it until later. He sighed softly and thought of Qin Lu. He also knew that he had gone too far. Although Qin Xian was Qin Lu's child, he was also Ai Jia's child. He and He Huan had a bad relationship for many years because of Ai Jia. She didn't remember it, but if she remembered it one day, she might not forgive him. Qin Mo let out a long sigh. He put away the cigarette in his hand and went back to the bedroom. It was already 10:30 p.m. He Huan was still awake. She wasn't playing with her phone either. She was just spacing out. He called out to her and walked over. "You're still awake?" He Huan looked at him and smiled faintly. "Did I go too far just now? I shouldn't have said that. If Qin Xian heard it, he would be very sad." Qin Mo just reached out to stroke her hair. "You're right. I didn't handle it well. I was only thinking about whether Qin Xian would be sad or not. I didn't care about your feelings." As he spoke, he rested his head against hers. He didn't say anything, just leaned against her in silence. He Huan could not help but ask him, "Can you erase anything that Ai Jia did?" Qin Mo looked at her quietly. He Huan looked down and said after a long time, "I understand." She knew that she was a little emotional and unreasonable, but she couldn't help but ask. It was too sad to keep it in his heart. She was even more afraid that Ai Jia would become a shareholder of King Entertainment. He would pester Qin Mo in the future and use Qin Xian to ruin their lives. Ai Jia could do anything, but Qin Mo let her go. He Huan was troubled. She was no longer an 18-year-old girl who lost her memory. She felt a little annoyed and ignored Qin Mo for a few days. President Qin was in a bad mood. He had a bad temper in King Entertainment. He only toned it down a little when he saw Rongyu in the afternoon. Rongyu came over to talk to him and signed a contract. He then smiled. "Why do you look so bad?" Qin Mo looked at the contract and closed it. Everyone in the Qin family has failed to match. Also, He Huan did not really understand him. He could understand that, but if it were him, he would not be able to accept it. He Huan could take care of Qin Xian, but she was conflicted. Why did he help Ai Jia? Ai Jia should be punished by the law. Chapter 4752. After Qin Mo said that, Rong Yu was stunned for a moment, then he repeated, all of them? Qin Mo nodded. All of them. He was a little annoyed and lit a cigarette. After taking a puff, he looked at Rong Yu. Do you want one? Rong Yu thought about it and asked for one, but he didn't smoke it. Qin Mo could understand. Rong Yu's health wasn't good, and AI Meng Meng probably didn't allow him to smoke. Once a man got married, there would be restrictions. In the smoke, Rong Yu said softly, there's one more person. Huh? Qin Mo looked at him. Rong Yu smiled faintly and even a little bitterly. President Qin, you forgot that Qin Xian isn't just related to the Qin family. There's also the AI family. The AI family's parents had passed away, and AI Jia's bone marrow wasn't compatible. There was only AI Meng Meng. Qin Mo paused and looked at Rong Yu. You. Will AI Meng Meng be willing? Rong Yu's smile faded and he said slowly, I only have one condition. Qin Mo looked at him, feeling a little uneasy. As expected, Rong Yu said, if you need AI Meng Meng's bone marrow, then we'll have custody of Qin Xian. President Qin, I only have one condition. Qin Mo was a little angry. But this is the condition I'm most unwilling to agree to. It might not be a good match. If it's a good match, President Qin, then you can think about it. Rong Yu had been calm, as if he wasn't talking about a child, but a normal contract. Qin Mo stared at him for a long time before he frowned slightly. I didn't realize that you were eloquent in negotiations before. Rong Yu was quite humble. President Qin, you flatter me. Qin Mo's gaze was still meaningful. You know whether I'm flattering you or not. All right, I'll wait for your news. Everyone knew that AI Meng Meng might not be willing, and even if she was willing, she might not be willing to raise AI Jia's child, unless, at this time, Qin Mo suddenly stopped Rong Yu. Wait a minute. Rong Yu stopped at the door and turned to look at Qin Mo. Qin Mo stood up from behind his desk and slowly walked towards Rong Yu. He was about the same height as Rong Yu, but Qin Mo was much stronger than Rong Yu. It was not that Qin Mo had a lot of muscles, but Rong Yu was too thin, so there was a big difference in their aura. Qin Mo said softly, I think Rong Yu, you must have other conditions, right? Rong Yu lowered his eyes. No expression could be seen on his handsome face, but his long eyelashes were gently trembling. Who was Qin Mo? At this moment, he almost guessed it, but for the sake of Qin Xian's life, everything else had to be put aside. Qin Mo's voice was hoarse. Let's talk about it later, right? Rong Yu smiled faintly again and then walked out. Qin Mo was left alone in the office. He lit another cigarette and let out a long puff. He furrowed his brows again. Perhaps He Huan was right. He cared too much about Qin Lu and Qin Xian, so he was too lenient towards AI Jia. On the other hand, Rong Yu did not have much affection for this child, so he could intuitively make a judgment and choice. It was very simple and logical, but he did not see it clearly, and it was difficult for him to choose. Qin Mo was alone in silence for a while. He was not in the mood to report when Secretary He came in. He raised his hand lightly and said, leave it here, I'll look at it later. Secretary He nodded and agreed. He had a feeling that President Qin had some ulterior motives. Chapter 4753. Memorized. Qin Mo was alone for a while. He wasn't in the mood for Secretary He's report. He raised his hand indifferently. Leave it here. I'll read it later. Secretary He nodded. He had a feeling that President Qin was up to something. When Qin Mo returned to the villa, the children had returned from school. Qin Xian hadn't gone to school yet. He had planned to go to school after his body recovered from the surgery. However, the bone marrow hadn't been matched yet. He Huan and Qin Xian didn't know about this. Qin Shen had only told him. Qin Shen wasn't in a good mood at the time. After all, Qin Xian was Qin Lu's child. Qin Mo returned home. He took off his coat and threw it on the sofa. He rubbed his brows and sat down. Little Qin Xian appeared out of nowhere. He had a cup of hot tea in his hand. He was so well behaved that it made people's hearts ache. Qin Mo moved his hand away and looked at the child silently. Qin Xian sat next to him, his slender legs swinging under the sofa. He didn't say anything. They stayed in silence for a long time. Little son couldn't take it anymore and spoke first. I know it's good enough that I'm alive now. It's okay if there's no other way. Qin Mo stared at him and said softly, "Who told you that?" He said honestly, "Those aunties and nurses. I can understand them in English and French." Little Qin Xian's voice was sullen. Qin Mo reached out and hugged him gently. He pressed his little face against him and smiled. That was in the past. It's different now. You have Aunt Qin Shen now, right? But I know there's no suitable bone marrow, little Qin Xian said softly. Qin Mo's voice was slightly stifled. Who told you that? Qin Xian didn't answer the question. Uncle is in a bad mood. Qin Mo paused for a moment and then sighed. This child is really sensitive. He forced a smile and wanted to say that it was not what he thought, but after he smiled, he knew that he could not hide it from this sensitive child. In the end, he just ruffled his hair and said, "Uncle will think of another way." Suddenly, Qin Xian reached out and hugged his waist. Qin Xian's voice was very soft. "Uncle, I'm fine." What he had now was already a lot. It was really enough. Even if he could only live for another half a year, he would have a home in half a year. He had what other children had. He thought that if one day, he couldn't live anymore, he would call for his parents, but only once. Otherwise, if he really died, they would be very sad. After hearing Qin Xian's words, Qin Mo felt even sadder. He felt that no matter what, he wanted Qin Xian to live. Even if the child was disappointed in him and hated him in the end, he still wanted him to live. At this moment, He Huan was quietly watching this scene from the staircase on the second floor. Just now, she had called Qin Shen and asked him, and Qin Shen had told her. Everyone in the Qin family was not good enough for Qin Xian. He Huan looked down and her eyes were a little red. She walked down slowly until she reached Qin Mo's side. She hugged him from behind and pressed her face against his shoulder. Her voice was a little hoarse. There's still one more person who is not a match. Qin Mo turned his head. I know, it's Ai Meng Meng. He Huan shook her head. No, it's Yi Huan. Qin Mo was a little shocked. He had never thought of letting Yi Huan go or even donate her bone marrow, but Yi Huan actually suggested it. Didn't Yi Huan hate Ai Jia? Chapter 47-54. He suddenly felt his mouth go dry. He licked his lips. I thought, Yi Huan was still hugging him and said in a low voice, I want Qin Xian to live well. Qin Xian was also stunned. He said instinctively, it'll hurt a lot. Yi Huan didn't say anything. She just touched his little head gently and didn't say anything. Qin Mo closed his eyes slightly and said in a hoarse voice, Yi Huan, I'll feel sorry for him. Me too, Yi Huan said softly. However, in her heart, it was only right for her to treat Qin Xian well, and it was only right for Ai Jia to be punished. Qin Mo was trapped in his guilt towards Qin Lu and seemed to be unable to extricate himself. Qin Xian was very young, sensitive and fragile, but these weren't reasons to let Ai Jia go. In other words, Qin Xian's existence showed that Ai Jia was a complete lunatic. How could Qin Mo think that Ai Jia would let go after getting benefits? She was the one who gave birth to the child, so she would always take advantage of it. Sending him to prison was the best for Qin Xian's growth, even if he had to bear a little psychological trauma. But He Huan couldn't tell Qin Mo about this. If she did, they would quarrel. Even if he didn't say it, she knew in her heart that Qin Mo's tolerance for AI Jia came from luck. He was lucky that there was a Qin Xian in this world to make up for it. She also felt sorry for Qin Xian, but the more she felt sorry for Qin Xian, the more she felt that AI Jia was crazy and unforgivable. At night, Qin Mo discussed this matter with He Huan again. AI Meng Meng should be matched first. He Huan, I won't let He Huan go unless it's absolutely necessary. She's only a young lady and she's only a few years old. He Huan looked down. After a while, she smiled softly. Unless it's absolutely necessary? Qin Mo, I really think you. Qin Mo stared at her. You brought it up first. Yes, I was the one who suggested it. He Huan said indifferently, that's because I think Yi Huan has to do this if necessary. Qin Mo, Yi Huan and I did what we should do. Shouldn't you do what you should do too? Qin Mo was stunned. He studied He Huan's expression carefully and then narrowed his eyes. You have the same idea as Rongyu? You want me to send Qin Xian's mother to prison with my own hands? How can we get along with him in the future? He Huan actually didn't want to argue with him about this, but she couldn't help it. Qin Xian, you heard what the teacher said. His knowledge is enough for him to go to high school. Don't treat him as a fragile object. You'll cause him to lose his judgment. If everyone makes a mistake, family can offset it. What else can the law do? Also, if you keep AI Jia, you're putting me, AI Meng Meng, Rongyu, and even Yi Huan in danger. Qin Mo, it's not that I want to make things difficult for her, but, you're wrong. You're wrong. He Huan's voice was getting lower and lower, but it was also getting stronger. These days, she had been thinking a lot. Perhaps it was because she had lost her memory that her mind became simpler, so she could see things more clearly. AI Jia was a madman, and Qin Mo indulged such a madman. After she finished speaking, Qin Mo looked at her quietly. So, you're like Rongyu, exchanging for a match, am I right? He didn't care about AI Jia, he only cared about Qin Xian. After he finished speaking, He Huan only felt that he was unreasonable. She held it in for a long time before she said in a low voice, if you must think that way, I'm not surprised that you and AI Jia took care of Qin Xian together. Qin Mo, I know you feel guilty about Qin Xian, but have you ever thought that this and AI Jia giving birth to Qin Xian are two different things? You don't owe AI Jia or Qin Xian anything. Qin Xian was just an accident, and Qin Xian saved you because of brotherly love. It's the same reason why Yi Huan got matched. What I care about now is that you've placed a madman, a ticking time bomb beside us. She could hurt me, Yi Huan, Ai Meng Meng, or Rongyu at any time. Qin Mo, do you understand? Qin Mo's voice was very calm. She got what she wanted. What she wanted was you. After He Huan finished speaking, she was also stunned. She didn't want to say this, and the 18-year-old He Huan didn't have this kind of awareness. However, she said it out of instinct. The air was dead silent. Qin Mo's dark eyes were emotionless. After a long time, he said bitterly, it's not like what you think. He Huan smiled faintly. Maybe. She lowered her head. Qin Mo, I suddenly feel very tired. I suddenly feel that our divorce and quarreling for a long time were all because of AI Jia. I can't lie. I have such a big reaction to her. She must have been involved in our past, right? Qin Mo frowned. There's nothing between me and her that you think. Yes. But you allowed her to exist in our lives, and your permission allowed her to hurt me. And Yi Huan, wasn't AI Jia the one who arranged AI Meng Meng's appearance? He Huan said quietly all of a sudden, Qin Mo, I remember everything. Qin Mo was stunned on the spot. He stared at He Huan and said after a long time, you remember? Yes, I remember everything, He Huan's voice was a little hoarse. He Huan's voice was a little hoarse. I remember everything, including how AI Jia got someone to push me down, make me lose my memory. That's why I changed my mind. The 33-year-old He Huan is much more ruthless than the 18-year-old He Huan, isn't it? Qin Imo reached out and grabbed her shoulder. But He Huan immediately broke away from his hand. She took a step back and looked at Qin Imo. You have something you can't let go of, Qin Imo, and I also have something I can't let go of. For me, I care about myself, Yi Huan, and Enchanting. I can give up your company shares and everything in the Qin family. Qin Imo stared at her and said slowly and coldly, you forgot to say that you can also give up on me, right? He Huan took a deep breath and smiled reluctantly. If it's necessary, yes. Qin Imo grabbed her wrist and lifted it up gently. Then, he said in a low voice, He Huan, can't you wait to leave when you remember everything? She smiled absent-mindedly, but her eyes were watery. He didn't remember that when they reconciled, she told him not to have another woman, especially not Ai Jia. She remembered everything. Naturally, she couldn't accept that he let go of Ai Jia, a woman who had been stirring up trouble for so many years and had connived with her again and again. That was why she said that he could take care of Qin Xian with Ai Jia. It wasn't that she couldn't tolerate Qin Xian. On the contrary, she could take care of him. Even if it meant that Yi Huan had to suffer, she would save Qin Xian's life. However, principles were principles. If she couldn't understand them, then she couldn't. He Huan remembered that it had been a few days. She didn't tell him. She quietly tried to figure it out. She wanted to be with him emotionally and she wanted to understand him. But she failed. She still couldn't understand. Chapter 47-55. They looked at each other, neither of them willing to give in first. Especially He Huan. She remembered that when they were together, her condition was for him to stay away from Ai Jia. Why did everything change when Ai Jia gave birth to a son? She chuckled and said, Qin Imo, you're so smart. How can you not guess what Ai Jia is thinking? You're just pretending not to know. Do you think that you can pretend not to know? She'll use Qin Xian to get close to you in the future, and I can only bear with it. I know and bear with it. Qin Imo, you do care about Qin Xian's feelings, so you ignore my feelings. She choked as she spoke. She used to believe him when he said that she was his little darling. But now, she was just a so-so. He Huan didn't want to talk to him anymore. She took her pajamas and went to the bathroom, planning to take a shower and sleep. She wanted to sleep now and didn't want to think about these troubles. Qin Imo grabbed her hand again and said, He Huan, give me time. I don't want to. He Huan pursed her lips and said, Qin Imo, if I give in, you'll only move forward again and again. And I don't want to give in. She looked down and said, I can't tolerate some bottom lines. Qin Imo, let's calm down before you think of a better way. Calm down? Qin Imo suddenly calmed down and let go of her hand. Tell me, how do you plan to calm down? Are you going to leave with Yi Huan? It wasn't the first time she did this. Yi Huan looked up at him quietly and said, Enchanting. Qin Imo stared at her and said, Aren't you going too far? Enchanting is my... You know what Enchanting wants, don't you? He Huan had regained her memory and her speech was much better. Qin Imo stared at her and said, You're really cruel. He Huan didn't say anything and just looked at him quietly. Qin Imo clenched his fists. I'll deal with it. It won't be like what you think. He Huan looked down and her expression loosened a little. Her voice was not as firm as before. She said softly, I don't know if I should believe you anymore. At this moment, although she was not as persistent as before, she felt a sense of dejection. Qin Imo reached out and gently rubbed her hair. His voice was very soft. Do I always disappoint you? Actually, He Huan could have avoided it, but she didn't. Qin Imo took a step forward and hugged her gently. His voice was very soft. Give me a little more time to settle this matter, okay? She didn't say anything, just frowned slightly. After a long while, her body was no longer as stiff as before. That night, Chin Mo sat alone in the study and smoked quietly. He thought about Rong Yu's words and He Huan's words. There seemed to be only one path in front of him. If Rong Yu sent Ai Jia to prison, Qin Xian would be under their care. If he sent Ai Jia to prison, then Qin Xian would be under Rong Yu's care. That was probably what Rong Yu was trying to say. Qin Mo slowly took a puff of his cigarette and closed his eyes, thinking about what to do. After a long while, he let out a long breath. When he got up, it was already 2:00 in the morning. He went to Qin Xian's room. No matter what choice he made, it would be a huge blow to Qin Xian. It was already late at night and little Qin Xian had already fallen asleep. The dim yellow light shone on his little face, making him look even more peaceful. Qin Mo was sitting next to him. He reached out and gently touched Qin Mo's face. Just as he was about to leave, Qin Xian woke up. His pitch-black eyes stared quietly at Qin Mo. Chapter 47-56. Qin Mo looked at him quietly and touched his forehead. His voice was very gentle. Go back to sleep. You have to go to the hospital for a checkup tomorrow morning. Qin Xian closed his eyes obediently but opened them after a while. His gaze was very cautious. Uncle Qin, is my mother a bad person? Qin Mo's heart tightened. Then, his gaze became somewhat gentle. Why do you ask that? Qin Xian bit his lip. I heard from the nurse that my mother was arrested. The little boy suddenly sat up and his gaze was a little straight. Will she still go in? For a moment, Qin Mo actually didn't know how to answer Qin Xian's question. After all, this was a child who rarely saw his mother. And he had told He Huan to give him time to deal with it. After a long time, he whispered, Qin Xian, if she did something wrong, does she need to be punished? Qin Xian looked a little dazed. He nodded very slowly and suddenly shook his head after a while. Qin Mo stretched out his hand and gently stroked his hair. His voice was somewhat gentle. Maybe we can change the way we do it. Qin Xian looked at him quietly. Change the way we do it? He was too young, so he didn't understand very well. Qin Mo's fingers gently stroked his forehead. Let her go abroad. When you grow up, you can go find her. Qin Xian still looked at Qin Mo quietly. Qin Mo smiled slightly. Go to sleep. Adults can solve their problems, okay? He was about to leave when Qin Xian grabbed his cuff. His expression was a little hesitant and stubborn. Uncle, will it bring you trouble? Qin Mo's expression didn't change. No. But there was a bit of a sigh in his tone. Qin Xian hugged Qin Mo with his small body. He was very small, but he vaguely felt that he was a big trouble for Uncle Qin. Qin Mo reached out his hand and patted his little head. In the end, he didn't say anything. Qin Mo didn't sleep for the whole night. After visiting He Huan, he returned to the study and smoked half the night. When the sky was about to brighten, he returned to the master bedroom. He was surprised to see He Huan awake. She wasn't on the bed but sitting on the sofa in front of the French window, looking at the thin mist in the courtyard. Qin Mo walked over slowly. He Huan sat there without moving or turning her head. She just said softly, it seems that you've already made up your mind, haven't you? Qin Mo squatted beside her and said in a low voice, I'll send her overseas. She won't come back unless something happens. He Huan stared at him and smiled lightly. You thought about it for the whole night and made such a decision? Her voice was very soft. Ai Jia got someone to push me. If it was more serious, I might never wake up. She might be the murderer who killed me. Also, she treated Ai Meng Meng like that. Now you want her to go abroad. Qin Mo, I really don't know what you're thinking. Qin Mo stared into her eyes. I just want Qin Xian's heart to be less hurt. He might not be able to, he's not as weak as you think. Moreover, Qin Mo, in your heart, is Qin Lu's death more important than anything else? Whether it's me or others, it doesn't matter anymore, right? He Huan smiled very softly. You can't accept hurting Qin Xian, but I can accept my husband providing the best life for the woman who hurt me. Even when Qin Xian wants to see her, you will personally take Qin Xian abroad to see her. Qin Mo, right? Is that your plan? Chapter 47-57. Qin Mo let out a long sigh. He Huan. He Huan smiled helplessly. I'll move out with Yi Huan and Shenting. As for Qin Xian, if AI Meng Meng can't match him, Yi Huan can. Qin Mo's body trembled. If you leave, what will Qin Xian say? Just say that we don't have a good relationship and that we can't give him a complete family, He Huan said, a little absent-minded and a little sorry. After all, she liked Qin Xian very much too. But even though she liked him and sympathized with him, she couldn't put herself in danger. Ever since she was young, He Huan had told herself that it was better to be selfish. Sympathy would only kill her. Qin Mo listened to her and knew that she had probably made up her mind. He stood up slowly. He Huan looked down. You still can't do it, right? He lowered his head and looked at her. After a long time, he said in a low voice, He Huan, are you really going to leave me and this family for this? Yes, He Huan said faintly. There are some things that I can't tolerate. I don't intend to spoil you. As she said that, she looked up at Qin Mo. When you send Qin Xian to the hospital, I'll pack up my things. You should stay here. Qin Xian is a little more sensitive. She was still thinking about that child. As long as it was within her power, she would do it. Qin Mo looked at her calm face and suddenly realized that He Huan might not have slept the whole night. While he was thinking, she was also thinking about it. And she had already thought about it. In fact, she already knew what he would think. That was why He Huan was so calm. He Huan stood up and said softly, That's it. Seeing that she was about to leave, Qin Mo grabbed her arm at once and said in a low voice, Leave, what's the next step? Are you going to divorce me? He Huan's arm moved, wanting to move away, but Qin Mo still held on tightly. His voice was cold as he said, Tell me, He Huan. Unable to break free, He Huan looked up at Qin Mo. Must you force me? Qin Mo's temper flared. He Huan, you're the one who's been forcing me. I forced you? He Huan's anger flared up immediately. Qin Mo, aren't you the one forcing me? Forcing me to accept reality, forcing me to do as you wish. With that, she shook him off and walked out of the bedroom. Qin Mo stared at her back. Yes, this was still the He Huan from before. She was still the same He Huan who could make him gnash his teeth in anger from time to time. Qin Mo narrowed his eyes. For a moment, he wanted to drag He Huan in, but he held back. He didn't say his plan. It wasn't like Ai Jia didn't have any evidence against him abroad. If he was going to go to jail, it would be better to do it abroad. Moreover, Qin Xian grew up in China. But at this moment, he wouldn't say who sent Ai Jia to jail. It wouldn't be him, Qin Mo, at least not on the surface. And it wouldn't be Rong Yu either. Qin Mo's eyes turned gloomy. This was the best ending. But unexpectedly, when Qin Mo wanted to take Qin Xian to the hospital, Qin Xian stuck to He Huan and refused to leave. Moreover, he seemed to have noticed something. He found He Huan's packed suitcase in the bedroom. The little Qin Xian sat quietly on the suitcase, looking like he wanted He Huan to take him away. He Huan was speechless. She squatted down and said, Qin Xian, I'm just going to travel for a few days. Chapter 47-58. Qin Xian stared at her for a while without moving. After a while, he said sullenly, "Then I want to go too." "Aren't you going to the hospital with Uncle today?" He Huan explained patiently. Qin Xian lowered his head slightly. "I don't want to go. I just want to travel." He Huan was even more speechless. She looked at Qin Mo, thinking that he was a spy sent by Qin Mo. Qin Mo put his hands in front of him and twitched the corner of his mouth slightly. His meaning was obvious: no way. He Huan bit her lower lip and glared at him. Qin Mo's words had a double meaning. "He Huan, do you have so little confidence in me?" He Huan didn't say anything. She felt that it was a little cruel to say this in front of Qin Xian. Moreover, this child was sitting on her suitcase, asking her to pack him up and take him with her. Obviously, the one who treated him better was Qin Mo. Obviously. Suddenly, He Huan understood something. This 10-year-old child knew everything. He was sensitive enough to know that his appearance had ruined something and made things difficult for Qin Mo. And he was attached to this family. That was why he used such a method, to plead. Not for Ai Jia, but for her and Qin Mo. He Huan's heart was filled with an indescribable feeling. Her heart was very soft. Inexplicably, it was a feeling that was even stronger than love and heartache. It was as if this child was her own child. He Huan suddenly said, "Do you really want to go with me?" Qin Xian's little face lit up with hope, while Qin Mo frowned. This was too ridiculous. He Huan asked again, and Qin Xian nodded seriously. Therefore, He Huan said softly, "That's easy. We don't have to leave. This house seems to be under my name. President Qin, you can just move out." Qin Mo frowned. "Me?" He Huan nodded. "If not you, are the four of us going to move out?" "That's fine too. I think we're legally married now. You can also give me half of your assets, and I'll immediately take my kids and leave. I won't be an eyesore in the future. You can see whoever you want and marry whoever you want." Qin Mo was both annoyed and amused. "He Huan, are you angry or jealous?" She glared at him and refused to speak to him, just as he wished. Qin Mo rubbed his nose and his eyes fell on Qin Xian's little face, hoping that he would say something, but Qin Xian obviously took a side. Qin Mo was also speechless. "He Huan, can you take care of these children? You pick them up if anything happens," He Huan said matter-of-factly. "Otherwise, do you think you can be irresponsible?" Qin Mo probably guessed what she was thinking. He just smiled and said, "Okay, I'll move out. But can you let me take Qin Xian to the hospital today?" He looked at Qin Xian and pretended to be angry. "You're a traitor." Actually, he knew deep down that it was Qin Xian who made He Huan's heart soften. Without this little guy, He Huan wouldn't have cared about him. Qin Mo let out a long breath. He thought that maybe he was thinking too much. Maybe He Huan was right. Qin Xian could tell right from wrong, and he was the one who couldn't. He took Qin Xian to the hospital. Qin Xian checked and confirmed that Qin Xian's condition was under control, and the little guy's mental state was better than before. Qin Xian reached out and touched his little head. He magically took out a candy from his pocket and handed it to little Qin Xian. "Candy. Go play with the nurse. I have something to discuss with your uncle." Chapter 47-59. Qin Xian looked at Qin Xian quietly for a while, then looked at Qin Mo. Qin Mo smiled. "Go out and play. I have something to discuss with your aunt." "Yes, uncle." Qin Xian insisted. Then, he blushed and followed the nurse out. Qin Xian looked at Qin Mo. "Where's He Huan? Did they fight again?" Qin Xian could understand this very well. He Huan had recovered her memory. It was rare enough that she could tolerate Qin Xian. Not to mention He Huan, even Qin Chen couldn't stand AI Jia hanging around her from time to time. However, Qin Mo was her second brother, and Qin Lu was also her family. Therefore, Qin Chen could feel the different feelings Qin Mo had for Qin Xian. But at the end of the day, principles were still principles. Qin Chen asked. Qin Mo was silent for a while, then said in a low voice, "The extradition documents might be coming from America in a few days." Qin Chen was a little surprised. "So soon?" "Qin Mo, are you?" Qin Mo stopped her. "No, it's the evidence we collected before. It's ready-made." Qin Chen stared at Qin Mo. "Can Qin Xian accept it?" Qin Mo didn't say anything. Qin Chen sighed. "This child is really quite pitiful. He likes Yihuan very much." Qin Mo suddenly said, "I think it's better to keep him by his side." As for Ai Jia, she got the punishment she deserved. When she came out, she was probably not young anymore. She should be in her 60s. This was because she had done a lot of things. Qin Chen asked again, "Does Yihuan know?" "I don't know yet," Qin Mo said calmly. "Let's not talk about it for now." Qin Chen knew that it was because of Qin Xian, but she didn't know that it was also because of Qin Mo. He was angry because Yihuan wanted to separate from the family at the slightest provocation. She had already divided the children, but he didn't get a single one. Qin Xian, the traitor, had already gone to Yihuan's place. After that, Qin Chen said something else. Ai Meng came over and matched the type. "She'll be out in the afternoon." Qin Mo nodded. Qin Chen leaned over. "If he's good enough, will you really let them raise Qin Xian?" Qin Mo looked up and frowned. "Yihuan told you everything?" To this, Qin Chen only smiled and did not say anything. Qin Mo didn't say anything. He had a meeting later, so he sent Qin Xian back first. In the car, Qin Xian sat quietly in the back seat, still holding the candy that Qin Chen had given him. Qin Mo turned to look at him. After making sure that he had fastened his seatbelt, he started the car. The car drove for about 10 minutes. Qin Xian didn't say anything. Qin Mo stopped the car in front of a red light and asked softly, "Why don't you say anything?" Qin Xian bit his lip and didn't say anything at first. After a while, he asked softly, "Will I still see my mother in the future?" Qin Mo's heart skipped a beat. He immediately understood that he actually knew everything. After thinking for a while, he lowered his voice. "Qin Xian, if uncle." Qin Xian hurriedly called him uncle and then bit his lip tightly. Qin Mo felt that it was too cruel for Qin Xian. Yihuan said that he killed people with a blunt knife, and now he felt that it was right. The car drove back to the villa. When Qin Mo got out of the car, he gently patted Qin Xian's little head and said, "I'm sorry." Qin Xian lowered his little head. He was actually a little dejected, but he still raised his little face and squeezed out a forced smile. "I know it's not uncle's fault. He was young, but he knew too much. When he was abroad, the auntie and nurses at home would also talk about his mother. It wasn't strange that he knew a lot by secretly listening to them." Chapter 4760. Updated quickly, no pop-up windows, and free reading. Qin Mo opened the car door and held Qin Xian's hand as they got out of the car. Yihuan was packing her luggage at home. Qin Mo frowned when he saw her. "Didn't you say you're not leaving?" Yihuan pulled the suitcase and squeezed out a smile. "This is yours, Qin Mo." Qin Mo frowned. "Stop fooling around." Yihuan tilted her head. "President Qin, I'm serious." Qin Mo stared at her for a while and thought for a while. All right. He really left with the suitcase. However, after he left, Yihuan found that there were a lot of bodyguards around the house. She ran downstairs to ask and found out that it was Qin Mo's order. Yihuan was speechless. She immediately called Qin Mo. "Qin Mo, what do you mean by this? Qin Mo drove and said indifferently, be good and don't go out these 2 days. He hung up the phone. He still had things to deal with, which was why he agreed to move out. He would only move out for 2 days, not one more day. After hanging up, Qin Mo put down the phone. His phone rang again. Qin Mo looked at it and was sure that it was AI Jia. He reached out to answer the phone. AI Jia's voice was a little panicked. Qin Mo, you have to save me this time. Qin Mo just. Huh? AI Jia paused for a moment. They want to extradite me and accuse me of more than 10 crimes. If they were all convicted, she would have to go to jail. Qin Mo's voice was very calm. I can't help you. AI Jia's voice was very anxious. I want to see you. At this time, only Qin Mo could save her. She knew that. At this time, AI Jia had received some news in advance, so she was outside. However, she could not run away. She was driving, and City B was full of electronic eyes. She might be caught in an hour or half an hour later. AI Jia panicked and didn't know what to do. She put down her pride and begged Qin Mo to help her. She even promised that she wouldn't visit Qin Xian anymore as long as she didn't go to jail. She couldn't go to jail. Once she went to jail, she would be finished. Everything she had would be gone. Qin Mo held his phone and listened to AI Jia quietly. After a while, he said softly, go to the Emperor Color Club. Wait for me, I'll be there soon. After he finished speaking, he hung up the phone and made another call. About 10 minutes later, Qin Mo's car slowly drove into the clubhouse. He opened the door, got out, and walked in slowly. The waiter led him to his usual private room and pushed the door open. Mr. Qin, Ms. AI is already waiting for you. Qin Mo nodded. All right, don't let anyone disturb me. With that, he went in and closed the door. AI Jia looked a little anxious. Qin Mo, I'm begging you. I really can't go to jail. Qin Mo quietly took out a document and pushed it in front of her. This is the waiver of custody of Qin Xian. From now on, Qin Xian has nothing to do with you. Also, I request that the shares of King Entertainment be given to Qin Xian. You don't need money in jail, right? As he said this, AI Jia was stunned. After a long time, she muttered, but, didn't you want to help me not go to jail? Qin Mo's expression and voice were indifferent. You probably don't know, but there's a new charge, and that charge could be a life sentence. AI Jia's expression changed. She stared at Qin Mo. Qin Mo smiled faintly. Your decision. Chapter 4761. Hearing his words, AI Jia was stunned. After a long time, she murmured, but, didn't you want to help me not to go to jail? Qin Mo's expression and voice were indifferent. You probably don't know that there is a new accusation, and that accusation may be a life sentence. AI Jia's face changed. She stared at Qin Mo. Qin Mo smiled faintly. Your decision. AI Jia's slender fingers held the table, and her voice was very soft. Qin Mo, tell me, did you do all this? Why did they suddenly accuse me? Qin Mo didn't deny it. The evidence has been there for a long time, and I've been suppressing it. Otherwise, you would have been in jail long ago. AI Jia, you have this day because you don't know how to stop. AI Jia's eyes stared at Qin Mo. Qin Mo suddenly said, Qin Lu's death isn't that simple, is it? AI Jia's face was ashen. Qin Mo's jade-like fingers gently tapped the table, and his voice was very low. In fact, Qin Lu's death was arranged by you, and in this way, you happen to know me. Justifiable, seamless connection. There was a touch of coldness in AI Jia's eyes. This is just your guess, President Qin. Qin Mo looked at her calmly, and then pushed a stack of documents to her. You should know this. AI Jia stared at the documents in front of her, and her pupils contracted sharply. After a long time, she squinted her eyes. There must be a problem. I don't believe it. There must be a problem. Qin Mo was still quiet. Whether there is a problem or not, you know very well in your heart. As he said, he stood up. The reason why I saved you was not just because of Qin Xian, but because I found out what happened that year, and now I have the evidence. Qin Mo was calm. AI Jia, when you killed Qin Lu, you already had Qin Xian. You're really good. It's a good thing that Qin Xian doesn't have a mother like you. AI Jia was stunned. After a long time, he mumbled softly, it's not because of Qin Xian. Are you trying to send me to an American prison? My bottom line is the land of Qin, but you're the one who touched it. Qin Mo's voice was slightly cold. If it was in the past, he would not be calm at the mention of land of Qin, but now he was relieved. He chose to let her go. AI Jia's gaze narrowed. He shook his head and denied, I didn't do anything to the land of Qin. I didn't. However, it was useless for her to say anything. Qin Mo had found the evidence, and she couldn't deny it. AI Jia was taken away and sent to America 2 days later. This news was kept under wraps. Qin Mo also made a trip there a month later. AI Jia was sentenced to life imprisonment, and she couldn't be released on bail or parole in advance. Qin Mo returned to B City. When he returned to the villa, it was 7:00 at night. Tomorrow, Qin Xian could already have surgery. It was AI Mengmeng's bone marrow. Qin Mo stepped in and frowned slightly. He asked Yi Huan, where are Shenting and Qin Xian? Yi Huan threw herself into his arms and kissed for a while before saying, Mom is making a cake with them. They said it's a small party for Qin Xian. Qin Mo's heart warmed. He carried Yi Huan over. In the kitchen, Yi Huan's face was covered in flour. In front of her was a small and ugly cake. Beside her was Shenting on one side and Qin Xian on the other. Their eyes were filled with disapproval. However, this didn't affect Yi Huan's interest at all. Qin Mo walked over and stood beside her. He said in a low voice, it seems that you're doing well without me. Chapter 4762. After Qin Mo said that, Yi Huan's body stiffened. She hadn't expected him to come over. In fact, she hadn't contacted Qin Mo much in the past month, let alone met him. AI Jia's matter had been low-key and Yi Huan had only found out about it 2 days ago. It was Qin Chen who had told her about it. Qin Chen's expression had been thought-provoking and Yi Huan hadn't understood what he meant. But now, she thought she understood. She moved and instinctively wanted to move away, but Qin Mo was obviously prepared for this. He immediately hugged her from behind and said in a husky voice, You're not happy that I'm home? The 2 boys blushed, especially Qin Xian. He stammered, Brother Shenting, I have a math problem that I can't solve. Can you teach me? Shenting glanced at him and quickly bent over to carry Qin Xian. Okay. This time, Qin Xian's face turned even redder. He wasn't a girl who would be hugged for no reason. Little Yi Huan whimpered and quickly followed. In the kitchen, only Qin Mo and Yi Huan were left. She still wanted to struggle, but Qin Mo lowered his head and whispered in her ear, Are you still angry? Yi Huan bit her lip. I'm not. Let go of me. I don't want to let go. Qin Mo said shamelessly. He closed his eyes for a while and opened them slowly. Did you miss me? Yi Huan's breathing became erratic. After a while, she muttered, You're so shameless. If a man is too shameless, he won't have a woman. He sounded very happy. Didn't you like me when I was shameless in the past? Yi Huan almost suffocated. She suddenly pushed him away with strength that she didn't know where she got it from. When she turned around, she glared at him and said through gritted teeth, "I'm sorry, President Qin. I don't like you anymore." Qin Mo didn't seem to mind. "Then, what do you like? Tell me, okay?" With that said, he even kissed her affectionately. He Huan was stunned by the kiss. She murmured, "Do you think you can come and go as you please?" Qin Mo smiled. "Have I?" He paused for a moment. "You packed my things, but they're a little short. I'll come back to get them." He Huan glared at him angrily. "I've packed up all your things. Nothing is missing. Is that so?" His voice was drawn out, and He Huan suspected that he was doing it on purpose. Sure enough, a certain man crossed his arms in front of him and said with a smile, "There's still one thing missing." He Huan was stunned. She couldn't help but keep up with him. "What's missing?" "Something called He Huan." Qin Mo smiled faintly. He Huan was furious. "I'm not a thing." Qin Mo nodded and said, "You're right. You're not a thing." She glared at him and gritted her teeth. "Did you come back just to piss me off?" Qin Mo took a step forward and said calmly, "I told you, I came back to get my things." He Huan retreated instinctively, but he kept moving forward until He Huan's back was in front of the counter. She reached out her hand and accidentally touched the faucet behind her. Water gushed out of the faucet. He Huan screamed and jumped forward, right into Qin Mo's arms. Qin Mo chuckled. "Didn't you say that you didn't miss me, okay?" He Huan struggled. "Let go of me." He hugged her. "I'm not letting go." He Huan's head and face were full of water and she looked extremely pathetic. Chapter 4763. Memorized. Qin Mo was stunned for a moment, then he laughed softly. His laughter shook the Hun's chest. He Huan jumped into his arms. She looked pathetic, funny, and somewhat pitiful. Because the water was too cold, her body was trembling slightly. Qin Mo was afraid that she would catch a cold, so he held her waist with one hand and said in a soft and doting voice, "I'll carry you upstairs to get your clothes, en?" He Huan didn't want to let him go so easily. She reached out and gently hit his shoulder. "Qin Mo, let go of me." Qin Mo turned on the water and gently put her over. With a splash, He Huan was covered in water again. This time, even Qin Mo got wet. He hugged her again and said helplessly, "I need to change my clothes too." Then, no matter how hard she struggled, he carried her to the upper floor. He Huan panicked. She clenched her fists and pounded on Qin Mo's shoulders. "Qin Mo, are you crazy? I don't want to. Let go of me, do you hear me?" Qin Mo chuckled. "The children will hear you if you speak any louder. Are you sure you want them to run upstairs to see what Mom and Dad are doing?" He Huan was both embarrassed and angry. "Qin Mo, you don't have any clothes here. You can shower upstairs, but you're not allowed to go upstairs. You're not allowed to go upstairs, you hear me?" Compared to her anger and anxiety, Qin Mo was obviously lazy. "I heard it." He Huan was stunned for a moment and then suffocated. "You heard me. Why aren't you letting me go? Those are two different things, aren't they?" He kissed her, his voice hoarse. "I don't want to let go." He Huan bit her lip and walked straight up the stairs while being carried by him. Qin Xian and Enchanting were originally sitting on the sofa. Qin Xian was asking for advice on the question. At this moment, his attention was completely attracted. His eyes could not help but follow the adults upstairs. Enchanting's face did not turn red nor did his heart skip a beat. He asked, "Qin Xian, do you know this question?" Yi Huan, who was squatting on the side, said in an old-fashioned tone, "I think Qin Xian is already in Chao Ying's camp, but his heart is in Han." Enchanting glanced at her with a strange gaze. Qin Yi Huan said confidently, "I think I'm right." Enchanting smiled faintly again and didn't say anything. He just looked at Qin Xian. Qin Xian's face was a little red. Brother Shenting, say that again. Shenting said it again patiently. This time, Qin Xian listened attentively, but Shenting was distracted. Because of Yi Huan. Therefore, this topic was discussed again later on. Upstairs, Qin Mo carried Yi Huan into the bathroom. The moment her feet touched the floor, she started screaming. What are you screaming for? Qin Mo was speechless. I'm not doing anything to you. As he said that, he looked at her and adjusted the hot water for her. Then, he went to the changing room to take her clothes and took a bathrobe to the guest room to take a shower. After Qin Mo left, Yi Huan was stunned for a while before she came back to her senses. The hot water on her body was especially warm and comfortable. She wiped her face and remembered that she had not taken off her clothes. After taking a hot shower, she felt much more comfortable and changed her clothes. She thought that she would be done soon, but when she got downstairs, Qin Mo was already in the kitchen. Yi Huan was not stupid enough to go upstairs again. She stood on the stairs and coughed softly. Yi Huan, what is your daddy doing? Yi Huan swallowed her saliva. Daddy is making a cake. Yi Huan bit her lower lip again. Did you say you wanted to eat it? You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.